The anime begins with our protagonist, who, the moment he opens his eyes and regains consciousness, immediately realizes that everything around him is completely dark. The first thing that crosses his mind is a question: where is the light? He also wonders where he is right now, and whether this could possibly be his room. That's when he notices a faint line forming above him, slowly illuminating the darkness. The light weakens just enough for a crack to appear. As soon as that happens, he panics, because beyond the crack, he can make out what looks like a forest, or perhaps a jungle. This only confuses him further, as he has no idea how he ended up in such a place. Unable to move at all, he can only ask himself, what in the world is going on? Suddenly, a status window appears in front of him, stating that his race is Dragon Egg. Before he can even begin to process that information, a mysterious voice unexpectedly speaks to him, explaining that the status screen has been activated and that his abilities are displayed as easy-to-understand numerical values. The protagonist assumes this voice might be able to answer his questions and tries to gather more information. It is then that the system informs him that this is thanks to a skill called Divine Voice, Level 1, which provides information about his current status, his items, and also explains any changes to his condition. Hearing this, the protagonist asks if this is some kind of video game. However, the system immediately responds that Divine Voice, Level 1, does not grant access to that explanation. From this, the protagonist assumes that if he manages to level up, his questions might finally be answered. So, he changes his approach and asks who exactly is speaking to him. Once again, the system responds coldly, stating that Divine Voice, Level 1, does not grant access to that explanation. This repeated refusal clearly unsettles and frustrates him. Desperate for answers, he asks again who the voice is and where he is right now, but the system once more refuses to respond to those specific questions. Angered by this, the protagonist begins to panic and struggle, causing the egg he is inside to wobble violently. Moments later, it loses balance and falls from the tree it had been resting on. After hitting the ground, he realizes just how far he fell. Seconds later, the system notifies him that he has acquired a new skill, Fall Resistance. Although this should be good news, the protagonist focuses on something far more alarming. He has lost 1 HP point. His health now reads 4 out of 5. Suddenly, the system announces that he has obtained a title, Clumsy. Infuriated, the protagonist demands that the system stop making fun of him. Moments later, the egg begins rolling uncontrollably downhill, sending him into a brief panic as he has no way to stop himself. When it finally comes to a halt, he looks through the crack in his shell and realizes he nearly fell into the water below. As he looks closer, he sees his reflection and confirms without a doubt that he truly is an egg. As he stares at the horizon, lost in thought, he complains that none of this makes any sense, unable to understand what is happening to him or why he is here. Recalling how RPGs usually work, he assumes that by accumulating experience and levels, he should eventually be able to evolve. That thought leads him to a troubling possibility, that he may need to defeat enemies. The idea feels absurd, considering he is nothing more than an egg. After a while, he suddenly stops, sensing something ahead. Carefully rolling closer, he peeks out while hiding behind a tree. Unable to see it clearly, he assumes it is some kind of insect, but this is enough for him to realize that he is not alone in this place. He then uses status on the creature, revealing that it belongs to the dark worm race and carries the title Egg Eater. Needless to say, he does not like the sound of that. As he continues reading the information, the worm notices his presence and immediately shows its hostility, charging straight toward him. Fearing that its intention is to devour him, the protagonist barely has time to react. As the creature lunges at him, he instinctively rolls away at full speed to escape. As he keeps moving, he complains about how persistent this predator is. No matter how far he rolls, it refuses to give up the chase, forcing him to consider that defeating it might be his only option. Seizing a moment of momentum, he jumps, and while airborne, he uses status on his enemy once more. The result confirms his fear. The worm has more HP than he does, making a direct confrontation a terrible idea. Because of this, he decides that creating an opening is the only way forward. Spotting a small cliff ahead, he places his trust in his ability to survive a fall from that height. When he reaches the edge, he suddenly stops. The worm takes the bait and lunges at him, attempting to devour him, but at the last second, the protagonist twists his body and narrowly dodges the attack. As a result, the worm plunges off the cliff. To finish the job, the protagonist throws himself down as well, crashing directly onto the creature's body and making the fall even more brutal. After slamming into the ground, he confirms that he also took damage even though the worm's body helped cushion the impact. Next, he waits, hoping that this strategy has finally killed the monster. However, his hope is crushed the moment the worm pushes him off and reveals an overwhelming thirst for blood. The protagonist desperately begs for it to fall asleep already, and, as if answering his plea, the worm collapses once more, this time showing no signs of life. Having defeated it, the system informs him that he has gained 12 experience points and that his title, Walking Egg, grants him an additional 12 bonus experience points. The protagonist begins to think that if he can gain experience by defeating enemies, then this truly must be a game. But as he reflects on that thought, the system delivers another announcement. The Dragon Egg has gone from level 1 to level 5, reaching the maximum level and unlocking the opportunity to evolve. Hearing this, the protagonist is stunned. When the system asks if he would like to view his available evolution, evolutions, he accepts without hesitation. Upon his confirmation, the system presents him with two evolutionary paths. One is called Baby Dragon, and the other is Drake. Seeing these options leaves him conflicted, unsure of which path to choose. Suddenly, the system begins explaining the Drake evolution. It is a smaller species, and while it is small by dragon standards, it is still larger than a bear. Another important detail is that its fire breath is feared by adventurers. The protagonist admits that having this kind of information explained so clearly is pretty amazing, and he asks the system to tell him about the other option. The system then lists the traits and notable details of the baby dragon, such as the fact that its meat is extremely tender, making it a prized delicacy when properly seasoned. On top of that, it is quite weak, with short claws and underdeveloped fangs. However, it possesses tremendous potential, with multiple possible evolutions, although most of them end up being hunted down by adventurers or other monsters. Faced with this information, the protagonist can't help but complain. He finds it depressing, especially since it initially sounded more like a culinary guide than an evolution path. Taking all those drawbacks into account, he immediately rejects that evolution, believing that the Drake seems far more balanced. Suddenly, a different voice echoes directly inside his mind, urging him to become strong. The message repeats itself several times. The voice goes on to say that only one path lies before him, the path to the summit, and that great expectations have been placed upon him, so he must not disappoint. Caught completely off guard by this sudden message, the protagonist wonders if what he heard was divine voice, the same system that informs him about his status and abilities. The system then notifies him that the divine voice skill has advanced from level 1 to level 2. Immediately, the protagonist asks whether the voice he just heard was the result of reaching level 2, since it sounded entirely different from the system's usual responses. But when no answer comes, he starts to wonder if he heard that message because he had described the Drake as a balanced evolution. Unable to get the thought out of his head, he repeats the message to himself, trying to analyze its meaning, that only one path lies before him, the path to the summit. As he focuses more deeply, he comes to a realization: the baby dragon actually holds greater potential, capable of evolving into countless kinds of dragons. In comparison, the Drake appears to offer far fewer possibilities, making it likely that its evolution would eventually stagnate. After several minutes of reflection, he finally makes his decision. He tells the system that he will choose Baby Dragon, declaring that he will not regret the path he has chosen. Immediately afterward, the egg cracks open as his body undergoes a sudden transformation. He has evolved from a dragon egg into a baby dragon. The system informs him that thanks to his title, Child of the Dragon King, level 1, all resistances below level 5 are enhanced. He also acquires several new skills: Dragon Scales, Baby Breath, Hiss, and Bite. After taking a moment to examine his new appearance, he checks his stats and realizes that they have skyrocketed. However, even after evolving, his HP and MP have not fully recovered. This makes one thing clear: whether he evolves or not, he still needs to rest. An important lesson to learn. He then approaches the worm's corpse and offers it his thanks, acknowledging that thanks to it, he was able to break free from his shell. Suddenly, his stomach growls, demanding food. As he stares at the monster's body, hunger sets in, making him realize that his body wants to eat it. Though confused at first, he understands that this is his dragon instinct, something necessary to regenerate and to fight again. He then recalls the words of that mysterious voice, the one that urged him to grow stronger, and he becomes convinced that he must continue to strengthen himself. With a shift in mindset, he casts aside his doubts and begins devouring the monster's corpse, even as he complains internally about how disgusting the act feels. The next day, he wakes up feeling surprisingly refreshed, having slept comfortably. The first thing he does is head toward the water to look at his reflection once more. It is then that he realizes the truth. He has been reincarnated into this world, now existing as a newborn dragon. On top of that, the world itself seems to function like an RPG. He can gain EXP to level up, and even evolve. However, he has no memory of who he was before. Although he believes he was once human, he has no idea what he did, or even whether he was a man or a woman. As these thoughts cross his mind, monsters like the one he fought earlier begin creeping up behind him, stalking him from the shadows. Yet instead of feeling fear, he calmly prepares himself and begins the hunt. In an instant, he leaps onto one of them, slashing it apart with his claws. As he continues defeating them, he gains experience with surprising ease. After all, he is far stronger than before. After exterminating several of them, the system notifies him that the baby dragon has advanced from level 1 to level 3. He then begins using Baby Breath, allowing him to incinerate multiple worms at once. By defeating even more of them, the baby dragon reaches level 7. As the battles continue, he earns the title Striker, followed shortly by the skill Dragon Fist. He repeats this hunt without pause, and upon reaching level 15, the protagonist feels satisfied, convinced that he is steadily approaching the summit. At that moment, he becomes distracted by an unpleasant thought: whether he will have to eat more of these monsters. Just remembering the taste and texture makes him feel nauseous. Because of that, he wonders if he can try eating something other than insects. Unfortunately, he learns the hard way that the mushrooms in this forest are extremely dangerous, making it a terrible mistake. Despite that, the system informs him that he has acquired the skill Poison Resistance, and that the title Clumsy has increased from level 2 to level 3. From there, he continues roaming the forest, intent on finding new prey. Suddenly, he notices something ahead: a level 6 gray wolf, who whose stats are clearly inferior to his own. As he begins to chase it, he fires his fire breath, followed immediately by Dragon Fist, more than enough to completely incinerate the wolf. Approaching the corpse, he notices that the scent rising from it resembles that of roasted meat. Acting on instinct, he blasts it once more with his breath, turning it into properly cooked meat. After taking a bite, he continues eating without stopping. It tastes far better than anything he had consumed before, exactly what he needed. Sometime later, he reaches level 20. As he rests, he reflects on the fact that his next evolution will occur at level 25. While it doesn't seem too far away, he can already tell that leveling up is becoming slower with each step. While preparing the meat he plans to eat, he is suddenly distracted by strange sounds coming from somewhere nearby. Although he can't understand the words, he clearly recognizes it as human language. Because of that, he moves closer, carefully observing them while staying hidden. Judging by their clothing, he comes to the conclusion that this truly is a fantasy world. On top of that, he believes that despite being a dragon, he looks rather cute, so things should be fine. By checking each of their status screens individually, he realizes that while they are weak on their own, as a group, they could be stronger than him. After giving it serious thought, he decides to approach them in a friendly manner. As soon as he does, he asks them not to hurt him, explaining that he is not an evil dragon, all while putting on the most adorable expression he can manage. However, when he puts on his cute act, the adventurer at the front signals the girl beside him to step back. Then, he flashes an unmistakably hostile smile. In his eyes, the protagonist is nothing more than another horrible monster. Without hesitation, the adventurer slashes his sword through the air, sending a ranged blade attack straight toward him and carving a deep wound across the protagonist's chest. Unable to communicate properly, he begs them for mercy, insisting that he is not their enemy. But before anything can change, the mage fires an offensive lightning spell, dealing even more damage and leaving his body completely paralyzed. While he lies defenseless, the system notifies him that he has acquired the skill Magic Resistance. Even as he tries to flee, his body refuses to respond. In that moment, he realizes that he has failed, because to them, he is nothing more than an enemy or food. Trapped in such a hopeless situation, he calls himself a fool, wondering why he ever believed a dragon could befriend humans. Worse still, he mocks his own struggle, breaking out of his egg and evolving, only to end up with a pathetic fate like this. Even so, he repeats one thought over and over: he wants to live. He doesn't want to die. Using every last ounce of strength he has, he drags himself across the ground, desperately begging for help. When he finally runs out of strength, tears spill from his eyes as he pleads for mercy, knowing full well that they cannot even understand him. Just as the swordsman raises his blade to deliver the finishing blow, the girl suddenly steps in front of him, blocking the attack and speaking to him instead. The protagonist can't understand a single word of their exchange. From his position on the ground, all he can tell is that the girl seems to be protecting him, even though he has no idea what is happening. When he regains full awareness, the first thing he feels is a gentle, soothing warmth. Looking more closely, he realizes it is magic, and that she is the one healing him. The girl says something, and the protagonist barely manages to make out that she is asking if he's alright. He is deeply shaken that she would help him, a dragon, and he feels overwhelming gratitude. In the end, the swordsman and the mage let it go without further resistance. As the protagonist checks her status, he learns her name, Miria Miliania, a terrestrial human. He also notices that she has almost no MP left, yet despite that, she still used her healing magic on him. Another thing he realizes is that once he recovers, she will leave. Even though the paralysis is slowly fading, he chooses to remain still for a little longer. As a result, the system notifies him that he has acquired the title Liar. A short while later, Miria says something to him, and at that moment, the protagonist gains the skill Grecian Tongue. He takes this as a sign that the higher this skill levels up, the more he will be able to understand her, something he eagerly looks forward to. That brief moment of peace is suddenly shattered by a terrifying roar. It is followed by the screams of other humans, making it clear to the protagonist that something is terribly wrong and that the enemy is incredibly powerful. Without hesitation, Miria rushes toward the danger to help them. In response, the protagonist grabs onto her clothes, not wanting her to go, fully aware that judging by those screams, there is nothing she can do. He also knows that with no MP left, she won't be able to use her healing spells. As if she understands the message he is trying to convey, she gently shakes him off and moves forward anyway. This fills the protagonist with desperation, especially since he is still unable to stand due to the lingering paralysis. Certain that they cannot defeat this monster, he forces himself to rise, believing that there may still be a chance to change the outcome if he joins the fight. When he finally reaches the scene, he realizes that the monster is a rock drake, classified as rank C. It has 197 hit points, while he has only 38 out of 72 remaining. Even so, he refuses to be intimidated and quickly surveys the area, spotting Miria lying on the ground beside the drake. At that very moment, the monster notices his presence and shifts its attention toward him, catching him completely off guard. After dodging an attack, he immediately hides behind some bushes, knowing that if that rock dragon gets near him now, he's seriously going to die. He sees that Miria is still alive, and the rock dragon has spotted her, so it's heading straight for her. However, once again, the divine voice speaks to him, and this time, it is telling him to run away, because he's going to die if he doesn't. He's already well aware of that, because he has zero skills or stats that can beat that rock dragon right now. The MC knows that the divine voice is right, especially seeing how huge that dragon truly is, but he can't help but remember the way Miria saved him without hesitation. He knows that he has to do this, so he immediately runs straight for the rock dragon before it reaches Miria. Using his rolling skill, he dodges one of the attacks, and the divine voice lets him know that he has received the title King of Evasion. The MC tries to focus on the battle, and notices that the old man who was with Miria didn't make it. On the other hand, the other man is still alive, though he's unconscious and bleeding, with only 5 hit points left. The rock dragon attacks again, but the MC knows that he has to do something to save them, so he decides to use his rolling skill to get its attention. His plan is to get it away from here, and then come back and help those two, but the task proves to be harder than he thought. The rock dragon manages to hit him with a long-range attack using a skill called Tremor that's impossible to evade. This leaves him without many options, but he tries to think about any other ways. When the rock dragon uses Bite, the MC decides to use his Fire Punch to attack, and this manages to do some damage. The rock dragon recovers the HP lost in just a second, but he knows that this is his chance, so he decides to take Miria and run away. There's still the other guy, but he knows that he can't save them both in his conditions, so he'll save the girl at the very least. The rock dragon tries to attack again, but its giant size makes it much slower, which allows the MC to run away with the girl. Once they're far away, the MC puts her down for a moment to check her vitals, and notices that her HP went down because of the blood loss. He thinks about using some healing magic, but decides to focus on getting her to a safe place first. The MC tries to remember which direction she was coming from when they first met, and his sense of smell helps him perceive the scent of humans. Without wasting any time, he carries Miria and runs, following the scent of humans. However, he stops as soon as he perceives a different smell. Knowing that grey wolves are approaching, he runs as fast as he can because he doesn't know how many of them there are. Soon enough, he realizes that they're multiplying, and he ends up surrounded by them. Having no way to escape, he puts Miria down and tries to fight them despite how many they are. Miria remains unconscious, but the loud noises make her open her eyes for a brief moment, and she manages to see him fighting the wolves. She loses her consciousness right away after that, and the MC carries her on his back after he defeats all the grey wolves. Even though he managed to defend her, he truly is at his limit now, and the exhaustion barely lets him move. Fortunately, he eventually finds a human village, so he tries to call someone for help. However, his desperate words sound like the roar of a beast to humans, who quickly approach him with weapons. He tries to ask them for help, but he only gets stabbed on his leg, and the humans clearly only see him as a monster. The MC desperately tries to explain that he just wants to help the girl, but when he sees the hostility in their eyes, he understands that there's nothing he can do to change that. That's why he gently places Miria down, making sure she's okay before leaving, hoping that they can take care of her. After he runs away, the humans decide to remain vigilant, saying that the monster might come back and attack them. They quickly take care of Miria, and the MC is content with that, knowing that she should survive now. He's deeply injured now, but realizes that a dragon is a dragon, no matter where it's at. As he walks away, the divine voice tells him that he has received the title Itty Bitty Hero, Level 1. 2 days after what happened, Miria finally wakes up in the house of a girl named Marielle, who tells her that she had to treat her wounds. Marielle confesses that she hasn't used such powerful white magic in a while, but it seems that she's mostly healed from the worst of it. She also informs her that she was out for a good 2 days, but she should still sleep for a while longer. Miria decides to listen to her and lies back down, thinking that someone must have brought her back to the village. Now that she knows that Miria is okay, Marielle freely complains, because she can't even count how many times she told Daz not to invite any trouble. Miria then asks her where Daz and Grants are, because they were with her when they faced the rock dragon. Marielle pauses for a moment and then informs her that Grants is dead, and they found his corpse in the woods. It looked like he was bludgeoned to death with a rock. Marielle blames Daz for what happened, because no one in their right minds would pick a fight with a rock dragon. Miria asks her what happened to Daz, and Marielle tells her that they have yet to find his body, but it seems safe to assume that he was eaten. Miria tries to process the information, but it doesn't take her long to realize that she's the only one who survived, and guilt hits her right after that. She immediately starts crying and blames herself for what happened, saying that if she had just stopped Daz, this wouldn't have happened. Marielle tries to comfort her and tells her that it's honestly a blessing that even she alone came back to them alive. Daz was the type to never listen to anyone after all, so she shouldn't blame herself for that. Miria continues crying and tells her that Daz wasn't a bad person, and he was always the first one to get rid of the monsters that strayed into their village. A lot of the kids adored him too, because his actions were admirable and he was strong. However, one day, one of the villagers challenged him, saying that he couldn't beat a rock dragon. Daz didn't take that very well, and Miria saw the whole thing when another villager told him that he's the one who got scared and ran home. Daz tried to remind them that that happened years ago, and told them that he could definitely beat one if he tried now. The villagers asked him not to even try, and reminded him that he had no one to drag along with him this time. Despite their warnings, Daz was already decided, saying that he would beat a rock dragon soon. Soon enough, he decided to team up with Grants, and approached Miria to tell her that he got permission from Marielle to hunt a rock dragon. This was clearly a lie, but Daz even told her that since Marielle was busy, she said they should ask her for help. Miria had her doubts, and asked them where Marielle was at the moment, wanting to hear that from her in person. However, Daz simply told her that Marielle was already gone, on because she had business in the next village over. Miria hesitated for a moment anyway and tried to remind them that the rock dragon is the strongest monster around the village, so Marielle said to never, under any circumstances, engage with one. She also warned her that she shouldn't help, even if he wanted to go hunt it. Daz took this the wrong way and asked her if she was saying that he was lying, putting her in a difficult position. Trying to convince her, he told her that Grants was there when Marielle gave them permission. That was clearly also a lie, but Daz warned her that they would go for the rock dragon, even if she didn't go with them, and there's a chance he and Grants are going to die if she doesn't. Miria had no other choice but to accept after that, falling straight into Daz's trap. After hearing that story, Marielle mentions that Daz's own pride cost him his life, and it lets her see that humans make the wrong decisions for such trivial things. She asks Miria to be careful and not to make the same mistake, because it can cost her her life as well. Miria agrees and wipes her tears, but Marielle finally smiles and tells her that it's impressive that she escaped and made it here with such serious wounds. Miria immediately sits up after hearing that and asks her if someone didn't carry her here from the forest. Marielle gets really confused at that and reminds her that they found her getting attacked by a monster just outside the village. Miria tries to explain that she was attacked by the rock dragon in the forest, and that's when she lost consciousness, so there's no way she could have come here by herself. Marielle tells her that that's ridiculous, because no one in this village would risk wandering in the forest alone at night. She was out cold on the outskirts of the village, and they say she was attacked by a monster there, so Gregory drove it away. Miria is clearly confused, because she doesn't remember anything at all, but Marielle explains that humans can lose their memory after suffering a huge shock, so perhaps that's what happened to her. Miria considers that option, but she manages to remember seeing a baby dragon fighting against a pack of grey wolves. She immediately asks what the monster next to her looked like, but Marielle tells her that she has no idea, because it had already run away by the time she got there. Miria decides not to say anything else, but deep down, she starts wondering if it could have been that dragon from before. Some days later, the MC wakes up in the middle of the woods and realizes that all his wounds are better now. He knows that resting heals him, but it's still crazy to him how he recovered from so much damage. It's clear that dragons are built tough, because if he was human, he probably wouldn't have healed so quickly. He just hopes that Miria is okay by now, and remembers how powerless he felt when he saved her. Even though he evolved and felt like he had gotten stronger, he realized that he actually hasn't at all. If only he had been tougher, perhaps things would have been different, and maybe he could have beaten that rock dragon. That's why he knows that he has to get stronger, and he doesn't waste any time either. So he soon decides to find a pack of dark worms to fight. He ties a dark worm to a tree, and this attracts all the dark worms around. When they're all gathered around the trap, the MC immediately jumps at them, crushing them in seconds. He proudly says that he made use of their Call Allies skill to set a trap, and it worked like wonders. The divine voice tells him that he has received the title of wrongdoer, and the MC feels like that's a little harsh. He clarifies that he won't use this method again after this, but he'll use these dark worms now to reach the next stage of evolution sooner. Without wasting any time, he starts fighting the dark worms, defeating them one by one in a matter of minutes. The divine voice informs him that he has received 24 EXP, and soon enough, it informs him that he has received 48 EXP more. The MC doesn't stop and continues exterminating these dark worms without mercy. He uses Dragon Punch against them and manages to get rid of the majority of the dark worms in no time. Once they're all down, he tells them that it was heroic of them all to rush to help their friend in trouble, so he will always remember their noble sacrifice. Finally, he turns the last dark worm into ashes with his fire breath, and that helps him reach level 25. The MC cheers, and the divine voice lets him know that he has met the requirements for evolution and has maxed out his level. Now that he has met the requirements for evolution, the divine voice asks him if he would like to view the evolution tree. The MC excitedly accepts, and the divine voice shows him all the evolutions available. He's got 5 whole different options this time, though there is a disturbing one mixed at the end called Young Plague Dragon. The other options are Kid Marble Dragon, Kid Dragon, Mini Angel Dragon, and Mini Dragon. He hesitates before deciding which one he should pick, wondering what the difference between Mini and Kid and Baby and Little is. He is also curious about that Young Plague Dragon option as well, and it is making him have a hard time deciding which one to choose. All his confusion is gone the moment the divine voice decides to speak, saying that regarding the evolved forms of certain monster types, Little does not describe the stage of evolution, but rather the size limitations of that particular species. The MC is a little surprised that the divine voice is answering his questions for once, so he decides to listen carefully. The divine voice tells him that while Little types experience faster stat development, they have less evolution paths and abilities compared to the Baby types. Thanks to that explanation, the MC quickly understands that Little types grow faster and therefore survive easier, but they are a bad choice in the long run. That's why he apparently made the right choice, becoming a Baby type instead. The divine voice continues explaining that the Kid type is a higher ranked version of the Baby type. On the other hand, Mini types have less evolution choices, but enjoy the benefit of having a stable evolution tree. That part is clear enough, so the MC decides to ask about the Young Dragon type now, but the divine voice apparently has nothing to say on that one. Knowing that he won't get any further explanation, he assumes that it is probably close to what the Kid type type is. Still, he will have to get a detailed explanation of each choice before he chooses. The divine voice informs him that mini dragon has the same small stature as the little dragon, but its individual growth is slow and has limited evolution choices. However, in exchange for that, many of its future evolutions feature great potential. The MC mentions that he's not a fan of slow growth and limited evolution choices, so he asks the divine voice to tell him more about the next one. The divine voice informs him that mini angel dragon is a dragon that has obtained protective spirit and swears to live for the sake of others. While it can make use of numerous white magic spells, its fighting ability is not very high. The MC sees the title skill of protective spirit and mentions that it looks like the evolution path may vary based on the title. There aren't many possibilities for mini types, and he's not really loving that it has no battle ability, but white magic is recovery magic, the one Miria used to heal his wounds when they first met. While he gives that option some thought, the divine voice continues explaining the other choices. It tells him that Kid Dragon is the next natural form after Baby Dragon, and although it is still not fully mature, its physical abilities are significantly improved. The MC understands that it is just a stronger version of Baby Dragon, and that's the legitimate path for him, in a way. The divine voice informs him that Kid Marble Dragon is a dragon that has undergone a mutation, has polka-dotted skin, and also has stronger magic than a normal dragon. The MC is seemingly interested in that, knowing that it's got more magical prowess, which would be great in the long run. Mutation also has a nice ring to it, like some kind of special limited-time merch. Before he can decide anything, the divine voice tells him about the young plague dragon choice, something that he wasn't even considering. The divine voice explains that the young plague dragon is the first stage of an evil dragon that spreads disaster. However, it has not strayed too far from the righteous path and may yet backtrack. The MC immediately rejects the idea, not even wanting to hear the rest of the explanation. He has no idea what spreading disaster means, but he surely doesn't want to find out. After all, if he chooses young plague dragon, he'll be even more alone than he is now. The divine voice continues speaking anyway, saying that the young plague dragon has incredibly high intelligence and can use the human transformation skill to visit human villages, though it's generally only for nefarious purposes. The MC keeps thinking that it's a terrible idea until he processes the human transformation part. Choosing that option and being able to transform into a human would mean that he can go to the village without getting attacked, and he wouldn't be alone anymore. The only issue is that he would still be an evil dragon with the plague, and that makes him enter an internal conflict, not knowing which option he should choose. The concept of becoming a young plague dragon feels like an all-around bad idea, but he's still worried about Miria, so he wants the human transformation skill no matter what. After thinking very hard into it, the MC says that if he can just learn human transformation, he can live a pure and honest life, and if worst comes to worst, he can always go back. Just like that, he decides that he's going to evolve into a young plague dragon, and his body instantly transforms. The divine voice informs him that he has evolved from baby dragon to young plague dragon. Even though that's what he wanted, as soon as the MC sees his reflection on the water, he doesn't feel as sure about his decision. He's completely different from the cute dragon he was before, and the more he looks, the more evil he seems. The divine voice tells him that his view stat skill has gone up from level 2 to 3, so he can now review the details of his own skills. The divine voice skill has also gone from level 1 to level 2, and he has gained the skills Fly and Dragon Scale Powder. The MC is glad to hear the good news, but the divine voice also informs him that his Nibble skill has become Venom Fangs. He has received Dark Type, Diseased Breath, and Paralyzing Venom Claws. These skills truly sound dangerous, so he tells the divine voice that he doesn't need those. However, the divine voice continues, saying that he has received the title Calamity as well, and Wrongdoer has gone from level 1 to level 2. All that information makes him start thinking that this might have been a really bad idea after all. To make things worse, he doesn't hear anything about the human transformation he was promised. That means that he became a flying calamity for nothing, but he wants to think that he just has to level up to get that skill. The divine voice tells him that it can't provide explanations of that nature at level 3. The MC falls defeated after the divine voice stops responding, feeling bad that he got all these weird skills instead of human transformation. At least he can check the details himself now, and he wants to learn about the divine voice skill first, because he doesn't know whose voice it is. The divine voice simply tells him that it can't provide explanations of that nature at level 3, but he already had a feeling that would be the case. He decides to learn more about the other skills in that case, like the Dragon Scale Powder one. The divine voice explains that by flapping its wings, the dragon can spread a debilitating miasma that affects everything around it. At max level, the dragon can wipe out entire nations simply by flying over them. The MC slightly moves his wings, and that simple motion kills a flower next to him, making him panic. He really doesn't like the idea of being a biological weapon now, and says that a warning would have been nice. That powder just came out when he moved his wings, and he'd never get near a dragon like this if he was human. The divine voice continues, explaining that Diseased Breath is a breath attack that spreads a disease-laden miasma. Not only does it cause severe debuffs, but it is extremely contagious, and was once responsible for wiping out an entire civilization. The MC freaks out, saying that it can't possibly get more evil than that, so he wonders wonders if he can really go back to the good guy path. He decides to check his titles, because titles seem like they'll have a big influence down the line. The divine voice tells him that Itty Bitty Hero is a title for those who embody modest courage and whose kindness may someday lead them to heroic status. Damage is slightly increased for certain weapons, and it also has a major influence on the evolution path. The MC doesn't dislike the idea at all, because he might be able to avoid the evil dragon route if he levels that one up. The divine voice continues, saying that Wrongdoer is a title for diabolic villains who leave behind mountains of corpses, laughing evilly as they count their victims. Damage is slightly increased for dark-type attacks, and further, it makes learning white magic spells harder and reduces overall recovery rate. It also has a major influence on the evolution path, just like the other title. The MC immediately interrupts the explanation, saying that that's the worst skill he's ever heard of. He starts thinking that he totally made the wrong choice, so he asks the divine voice to take him back because he wants to be an innocent baby again. While he freaks out and regrets his decision, Marielle and Miria check all the warding stones in the village. Marielle explains that the warding stones create a barrier around the village to prevent monsters from getting in. It's really just a charm that subconsciously encourages them from wandering past this point, but it can be ineffective against monsters that are strong-willed or have some sort of goal in mind. Miria assumes that that includes the monster from the other day, but Marielle clarifies that she's not sure because she didn't see it for herself. Despite that, Miria keeps thinking that maybe it really was trying to help, especially after seeing it fighting those wolves. Marielle mentions that if it entered the village due to the charm being broken, then that's a problem, and it may return. That's why she decides to move on to the next charm and checks that everything is alright. Once they're done, Miria asks her if she can tell her more about monsters, but Marielle mentions that she's been oddly obsessed with monsters ever since the incident. Miria confesses that she can't shake the feeling that she was saved by a small dragon she met in the forest. Marielle stops her right there and asks her if she's developing feelings for a monster. Miria quickly denies it, but she hesitates a little either way. Despite how unsure she looks, Marielle decides that it wouldn't hurt her to know about monsters. She explains that monsters can evolve into different forms, and they get stronger with every evolution. They do this by hunting other creatures to level up, and levels are something that humans have as well. Miria mentions that humans can level up and improve their abilities by accumulating experience. Marielle confirms it and says that when it comes to monsters, different types have a different maximum level. Once they reach their maximum level, they evolve into a monster that is one rank higher. They repeat that process and take on more powerful forms over time. Miria tells her that it's hard to believe the people of the past were able to figure out the nature of monsters. Marielle just asks her what she's talking about because she knows that she has explained the history to her before, a mere 11 years ago. Of course, Miria doesn't remember that at all because she was only 5 years old then and she had just met her. Marielle admits that she's right, and Miria tells her that she was so tiny that she had to look up at her. Marielle immediately glares at her, and Miria quickly realizes that she touched a nerve by mentioning her height. Even though that's probably true, Marielle denies it and changes the subject entirely. She explains that special people appear from time to time who can hear a divine voice, which shares information about monsters, levels, and the like, such as heroes or saints. They are how they know all this, and it wasn't the result of trial and error. Monsters fight to survive, gain experience, and attempt to evolve. So in other words, every monster is driven to seek power and become more ferocious. Even if that dragon really did save her life, the next time they cross paths, it will have evolved into something more menacing and will turn those fangs and claws on her. Miria immediately stops her from saying anything else, but Marielle warns her that she must not have any odd expectations of monsters. Meanwhile, the MC decides that he'll level up super fast and get back on the right track because he's going to be a hero, not a demon king. For starters, he wants to learn human transformation and go to the village because he'd like to see Miria again. Without wasting any time, he tries to find some weak monsters nearby to gain tons of experience. However, walking suddenly becomes difficult, and that's when he notices that there are threads around his body, stopping him from moving. A huge monster appears right behind him just then, but that's not the kind of spider he was expecting. The MC quickly checks its stats and finds out that it's a really strong Taranturage. He doesn't think he can beat it right now, but before he can even attempt to escape, the spider shoots its webs towards him. He immediately uses baby breath to burn the threads, but his own body also catches fire. As he rolls on the ground to put out the fire, the divine voice informs him that he has gained the skill Fire Resistance. Once he manages to put out the fire, he stands back up and quickly checks the spider to see how much damage it took from his attack. The monster still has 62 hit points out of 78 total, so his attack wasn't as effective as he hoped. He then decides to use his claws against the spider, using his paralyzing Venom Claws skill for the first time. After attacking the spider continuously, he quickly backs off and checks its stats, seeing that it now has 42 hit points. The Taranturuge's status says that it is burned, slightly paralyzed, and completely enraged, which can't be good. The MC doesn't understand how it still has half of its HP, and he's clearly worried that he just pissed it off. That definitely can't be a good sign, so he decides that he has to run for it now while it's paralyzed. He immediately runs away with his rolling skill, but to his bad luck, the paralysis soon wears off, and the enraged spider chases after him. Just then, he remembers that he has the fly fly skill, but his small wings don't let him get so far. He's really confused that he can't actually fly and assumes that his level is too low. He doesn't have much time to think because the spider is about to catch him, so he goes back to his rolling skill to escape. After a whole 10 minutes of rolling, the spider is still chasing after him, and it's not showing any signs of exhaustion at all. The divine voice lets him know that the skill roll has gone from level 2 to level 3. That gives him some hope, so he starts believing that he's going to make it out of this, because he's way faster now. The divine voice tells him that he has gained the title Chicken Runner, and the MC immediately asks if it's calling him a coward. He clarifies that he would fight the spider if he thought he stood any chance of winning, but this is not the case. The situation worsens when he notices an incoming cliff, and he knows that a drop like that will kill him for sure. He wonders if he should turn right before the edge, but then thinks that he can simply escape if he just makes it to the other side. His fly skill is unreliable, but he decides to jump at full speed either way, hoping for the best. Right after he jumps, he spreads his wings on the highest point and tries riding the wind to get to the other side. That turned out better than he thought, and he's glad to know that he managed to get away, though he's extremely exhausted now. The spider completely disappeared from his sight, so he just assumes that it gave up and left. The MC confidently promises that he's coming back after leveling up to fight it for sure. However, that's when he looks back at the cliff and realizes that the spider didn't actually leave, and it created a bridge with its webbing to get to the other side. The MC panics and realizes that this monster is beyond persistent, so he immediately starts rolling again. The divine voice tells him that the skill roll has gone from level 3 to level 4. That's nice and all, but the MC is still fighting for his life, so he doesn't have time to get happy about it. A gray wolf casually gets on the way, so the MC simply rolls over it and gains 20 experience in the process. The divine voice tells him that due to the effect of the walking egg title, he has earned an additional 12 experience points, and young plague dragon has gone from level 1 to level 3. A forest cutter also gets on the way, and the MC runs over the insect as well, gaining even more experience. He also runs over a wargmush, a weird monster butterfly, and other monsters on accident. He's doing literal hit and runs here, which further increases his experience on his wrongdoer title. The divine voice lets him know that young plague dragon has gone from level 3 to level 8. His stats are really getting up there just by him running away, so he starts thinking that maybe he can beat the spider now. He finally stops running and faces the spider, quickly checking the skills it has, which include bite, paralyzing tongue, spider silk, and double poison. He has no idea what double poison is, but he decides that he'll get in close and hit with a full-powered baby breath anyway. Before he can do anything, the spider shows him what double poison is and releases a powerful toxin in the air. The MC quickly jumps onto a tree to keep some distance, and he can move thanks to poison resistance, but his throat is killing him because of that toxin. He soon realizes that the spider is waiting for the poison to kick in because it doesn't know that he's poison resistant. That gives him a great idea, so he decides to cough and fall off the tree, pretending that he's dying. The spider soon falls into his trap and jumps to attack him right away. Even though his throat still hurts, the MC doesn't hesitate and uses baby breath against the spider, knowing that it can't avoid it when it's airborne. He finishes the spider with a strong blow with his tail, and the divine voice informs him that he has gone from level 8 to level 14. The MC feels satisfied, because beating that tough monster made his level really shoot up. The divine voice informs him that the skill baby breath has gone from level 2 to level 3, and he has acquired the skill Dragon Tail. He excitedly waits for the divine voice to mention the skill that lets him be a human, but once again, it simply stops responding. That makes him feel hopeless again, wondering if there is something he needs to do first to learn human transformation. It was a really exhausting day, so he just decides to eat something and rest up somewhere. Fortunately, he finds a nice-looking cave, and since it's apparently empty, he quickly gets in the cave and makes a fire to cook something for dinner. He's happy to have grilled meat for dinner, but it smells kind of gamey, unfortunately. Just then, he remembers that he found some fruits earlier, and they have a pretty good smell, almost like pepper. When he puts the juice on the meat, it gets rid of the gaminess, and the slightly spicy aroma and flavor makes it so good that he wants to eat even more. Thanks to that, he manages to enjoy his meal, and he decides that he'll make this cave his base, and he'll start gathering that red fruit. It's a little too wet and sticky to use as seasoning though, so he'll try drying it outside, because that might also help with preserving it. The divine voice informs him that he has gained the title Mr. Chef, though he starts feeling like his private life is getting broadcasted, and asks the divine voice to stop acting like a commentator. After stuffing himself with food, the MC wonders if he can get popular with the villagers with his home cooking. He quickly discards the idea, because no matter what feasts he prepares, looking like an evil dragon will scare them off for sure. He was a little cute as a baby dragon, but with the intimidating appearance he has now, he bets even Miria wouldn't recognize him. The MC blames himself, saying that this is what he gets for thirsting after that human transformation skill, and now he's totally stuck in the enemy of mankind storyline. While he regrets his decision once again, Miria finds out that Bertz, one of the villagers, saw Dawes at a pond right outside the village. He didn't notice him, and just kept walking deeper into into the forest until he disappeared, though. Gregory notices Miria's concern, so he reminds her that what happened to Dawes and Grants isn't her fault. Miria assures him that she's fine, and quickly runs to inform Marielle about this, wanting to search for Dawes. Marielle immediately refuses, saying that she absolutely can't go into the forest, and they can't afford to risk her life or that of anyone else in the village. Miria tries to insist, but she gives up after hearing Marielle's harsh reprimands. Seeing her sad expression, Marielle tries to comfort her and asks her not to worry because she'll ask the guild to investigate and adventurers should come to help in due time. Miria apologizes for being so unreasonable and decides not to argue any further. The next day, the MC feels completely recovered after a good night of rest, but he finds a strange moving puddle near the river. When he tries to check its stats, his head suddenly starts hurting, and the divine voice tells him that the view stats skill can't provide such specific information at level 3. The MC doesn't understand what's going on because even his eyes are burning. The divine voice lets him know that the view stats skill has gone from level 3 to level 4. Thanks to that, he finally manages to open his eyes, but everything is too blurry and he still has no idea what this monster is. The MC runs away as soon as he has the opportunity, avoiding the attack from that weird slime. He still doesn't know what that thing is, but it's definitely something he shouldn't get close to. Its stats weren't anything special though, but he decides to just leave it be and search in a different direction today. After walking through the forest for a while, he runs into what seems to be a nice looking pot and thinks that it would probably be handy to put fruits and stuff in. However, as soon as he tries picking it up, the pot suddenly flies into the sky and hits him in the face. The MC quickly checks its stats, realizing that it's not just a pot, but a rank D monster called Potortoise. He doesn't know if a Potortoise is a tortoise or a pot, but he doesn't waste any time and uses Dragon Punch against it. Unfortunately, that attack did nothing to the monster, and it simply brought its HP from 28 to 27. That's why he decides to give it all he's got, attacking the monster from all directions, and even using the strength from his tail. Despite all his efforts, the Potortoise's HP only goes from 27 back to 28 since it used the rest skill. The MC desperately holds on to the monster, but he can't possibly break its shell, no matter how hard he tries. That's why he decides to try something different, assuming that this monster is like a non-aquatic type of tortoise. Without hesitation, he throws the Potortoise off a cliff, making it screech as it falls into the river. The divine voice lets him know that he has gained 36 experience points, and due to the effect of the Walking Egg title, he has earned additional experience points. He also has gone from level 14 to 15 with that, which makes him feel proud. However, the divine voice also informs him that he has received the title Dastardly King, and Wrongdoer has gone from level 2 to level 3. The MC just then realizes that he might have done something slightly evil by throwing that creature off a cliff, but he doesn't have much time to think about it since a group of Potortoise suddenly surrounds him. He quickly understands that the loud screech he heard was actually the normal skill Call Allies. The monsters are clearly unhappy with him, and they all gather to create a tall tower of Potortoise. This is not intimidating at all, so the MC simply jumps very high and crushes them all in one go. The divine voice informs him that he has gained the skill Meteorite, and he has gained 594 experience points. Due to the effect of the Walking Egg title, he has earned additional experience points, and he has gone from level 15 to level 30. The skill Fly has also gone from level 1 to level 2, and the View Stats skill has gone from level 4 to level 5. The MC is pretty satisfied with these results, realizing that beating a group of them is actually really efficient. Unfortunately, their shells are always going to break when he beat them, so he can't have the usable pot he wanted. He still leveled up and got some meat though, so it is not all that bad in the end. After taking one of the Potortoise, the MC mentions that he wants vegetables too, not just meat, since veggies are important. However, he still hasn't learned human transformation, even at this level, and he's got only 10 levels until his next evolution, but he doesn't know if it will really take that long for him to learn it. He suddenly stops walking when he hears the sound of footsteps, something he hasn't heard before in the forest. He quickly hides behind a tree to see what it is, and the only thing he spots is a bear walking, but something is clearly off about it. The divine voice lets him know that he is too far away, and the stats cannot be read, but the details on the species can be viewed. The MC decides to check that at least, and the divine voice informs him that it's a clay bear, a powerful D+ rank monster made entirely from clod, with a high recovery ability. The monster is the same rank as him, and it makes him think that he can stand a chance at beating it if he fights hard enough. Also, if the name is clay bear, then it technically means it is bear-shaped clay, in which case, maybe after he wins, he can freely mold it and fire it up to make stuff like pots and jars. That thought alone hypes him up enough, so he decides that he's going to make that clay bear into some furnishings for his pad. He carefully approaches the monster, since it looks like it hasn't noticed him at all yet. This calls for a sneak attack, so he quickly climbs up a tree and attacks the clay bear with King Fist. The monster notices him at the last moment and reacts fast enough to open the back of its body like a trap. The MC panics and manages to dodge that, realizing that that thing is definitely not a bear, and it has no right to call itself a bear. He quickly dodges again when the clay bear jumps at him and takes the opportunity to attack 2 times. items. That fortunately took a good amount of HP, bringing it down from 40 to 25. However, the clay bear immediately uses its high recovery ability, regenerating its HP in a few seconds. The MC realizes that he'll never beat the monster at this rate, so he just rolls around in circles to dodge any attack while he thinks what to do, since he can't beat it in one shot at his current level. The most powerful thing he has is that meteorite skill he just learned, but there's no way it could pick up that behemoth and fly. For now, he'll just have to use hit-and-run tactics, so he tries to go around to the back, then immediately run. The clay bear keeps regenerating itself, but the MC is sure he can win if he keeps running down its MP. Before he can continue with his attacks, the clay bear rages in desperation and uses a sandstorm skill, making it impossible for him to get near. Once the sandstorm finally subsides, he notices that the clay bear now has a kind of spike armor, so he can't hit it with his roll attack anymore. His plan of going around the back won't work anymore, but the clay bear apparently has lost a whole lot of MP. It went from 100 MP down to only 19, maybe because it used regenerate, sandstorm, and probably a transform skill. The clay bear suddenly grabs one of the sharp spikes on its back and throws it at him. The MC manages to dodge that and notices that the spike melted as soon as it hit the ground. The same happens to the other spikes the bear throws at him, so he decides to test something out and jumps at the bear to grab one of its arms and rip it out. He soon confirms that the clay softens when it's away from the body, so he uses the arm of the bear to create a ball, planning to use it to hit the bear with meteorite. That probably won't take away all its HP though, and the clay bear can still use regenerate even with just a little MP left. That's why he decides to throw himself along the clay ball, using his meteorite skill to crush the clay bear entirely, getting rid of a half of its body. The MC confirms that he beat the bear when the divine voice lets him know that he has gained 150 experience points. Due to the effect of the Walking Egg title, he has earned an additional 150 experience points, which means Young Plague Dragon has gone from level 30 to 33. The MC is glad that it actually worked, because that attack surely left him busted as well. The divine voice also informs him that he has gained the skill Nutcracker, though he doesn't think it was a very cool attack, but it sure did look like a nutcracker. In any case, he got the clay he wanted, so it's a win for him. Once he's back at the cave, he uses the clay to mold some pots and bowls, using his own fire breath to light the furnace. While he waits for it to finish firing, he decides to go gather some food, hoping to find some vegetables. The first thing he finds is a small mushroom, and the divine voice lets him know that it's a lightning shroom, which has an E rank value, because it leaches all nutrition from the trees it grows on, and they're unable to bear any fruit. The nutrients taken in make it rich and delicious, but it has a slightly paralyzing poison. The MC doesn't have resistance to that, so he decides to forget it and leave the mushroom behind. He's glad that he gets so many more details now that his view stat skill is leveled up. It's a huge help, and he's sure it'll be useful to find some good vegetables in this world. After a while walking through the forest, he runs into a giant pink flower and decides to appraise it with his skill. Before he can hear any information about it though, the flower suddenly opens up, baring its teeth. The MC panics and immediately cuts the flower from the stem, and the divine voice informs him that it's a carnivorous flower with value C-. It's a rare plant that eats animals, but it can't digest salt, so the salt is accumulated in the white part of the root. Even though it's a little disturbing, the MC approaches the root of the carnivorous plant since there's salt stocked up in there. Salt is crucial for cooking, so he decides to take some with him for his next meals. In the meantime, Miria leaves the village in secret and walks into the forest, despite Marielle's words. Marielle already told her that she would ask the guild to investigate, so adventurers should come to help in due time. However, if there's a change that Dawes is still alive even after what happened, she can't afford to wait any longer. She's not sure if what Bert said is true, but she still feels guilty about what happened, so there's no way she can just stay in the village and do nothing. After all, none of this would have happened if she— That's why if one of them is alive, she has to find him for sure, even if it goes against Marielle's orders. While she's walking through the forest, a dark worm suddenly jumps at her, taking her by surprise. Miria quickly reacts and casts a fireball to defend herself, defeating the monster with one blow. She clearly wasn't expecting that, but she tries to convince herself that she'll be fine if she keeps calm. Meanwhile, the MC finds a giant mushroom, and the divine voice informs him that it's actually a monster shroom, which has a D rank value. It can walk after reaching maturity and becomes a monster that attacks people, and it tastes similar to meat, so it's considered a delicacy. The MC is glad that he found another good one, and it seems like it'd make a flavorful broth when simmered. He finds another weird mushroom right after that, which makes him feel lucky, and the divine voice lets him know that it's called Morotrogia, with an A rank value. The MC is surprised that its value is so high, and the divine voice explains that it can revive a nation with a failing economy if successfully cultivated. That definitely sounds good, but the divine voice also mentions that it is hallucinogenic and causes an intense euphoria. 500 years ago, it was discovered that it could be crushed and mixed with stimulant drugs, which created a substantial number of addicts. The MC immediately interrupts the divine voice, not even letting it finish before he burns the mushrooms to ashes, saying that he's never touching that one. The divine voice then informs him that the title Itty Bitty Hero has gone from level 1 to level 2. Miria continues wandering around the forest, trying to avoid battle at all costs and hiding from most monsters. The MC finds a value B+ fruit called Piperus, and the divine voice explains that it has a unique aroma that works up an appetite and was at one time considered the most popular spice. Demand for the spice was high among the nobility, to the point where it had the same value of its weight in gold. The MC is surprised that this fruit was that valuable, so he decides to gather some to try. Meanwhile, Miria finds herself pretty deep in the forest already, and she starts hesitating, thinking that it might be too dangerous to go any further. She can see wild eyes in the top of the trees, which gives her a strong feeling of uneasiness. However, she refuses to give up so soon, and decides to take another look around the outskirts of the village and then go home. The MC enjoys his big haul of fruits in the meantime, and he soon also finds a light mushroom which really lives up to its name. He takes the light mushroom to the cave to light the place a little, and decides to check on the pottery he made. Fortunately, it worked perfectly, so now he can use his new pot to cook something. After lighting a fire, he cuts all the ingredients he found and throws them into the pot with some water and salt. He patiently waits for the food to be ready, and when it finally is, he decides to try some. The taste is as tasty as he expected, and the salt he got from the root of that carnivorous plant is really a game changer. Wasting no time, he grabs a pair of wooden chopsticks and feasts on the food he prepared, enjoying the saltiness and the umami of the meat mixing perfectly with the broth. Right after he finishes his plate of food, he feels like he has reclaimed a life he had forgotten. The divine voice lets him know that the title Mr. Cook has gone from level 1 to level 2. Despite how good the food was, the MC noticed that the bowl he made is a bit hard to drink from, and there was some spillage while he was eating as well. That's why he knows that he has to try making a new one that works better next time. He also decides that he'll make a spoon as well, and after that, he will cover the wall with bricks. He's just thinking about it for now, but the divine voice lets him know that he has gained the title Ceramic Artisan. The next day, in the outskirts of the forest, we see a carriage transporting some adventurers. The driver lets them know that they've finally come to the forest, so an adventurer girl wakes up her comrade, saying that they have arrived. Once they get out of the carriage, the adventurer girl says that this is definitely the place the guild wants them to investigate, Noah's Forest. The MC has no idea of what's going on, and he returns to the cave after hunting some gray wolves, saying that he's home. After a moment of silence that drags for a little too long, he realizes that no one's going to answer him, which makes him feel a little lonely. He decides not to think about that too much, and leaves it aside to say that he'll butcher the meat and strip the pelts from these wolves. He apparently already made some new pottery earlier, so he focuses on working on the gray wolves as fast as he can. Without wasting any time, he works diligently and decides that he will put the pelts out to dry later. Before that, he cuts some meat and seasons it with some ingredients he has in a bowl, leaving it there to marinate while he does other things. The MC starts feeling like he is getting pretty used to this world already, so everything is pretty peaceful. However, his calm demeanor disappears in an instant when he goes out of the cave to check the pelts he left out drying and sees some monkeys eating them. The monkeys run away as soon as they see him, and the MC knows that he has to do something, or they're going to eat his entire stock of jerky. He needs to fend them off somehow, and the best idea he comes up with is to poison them. After returning to the cave, he decides to steep some jerky in a poisonous concoction he made with different ingredients. He decides to search for more poisonous ingredients outside, and realizes that he has pretty much learned how to tell from sight whether wild plants are poisonous or not. After walking for a bit, he finds a field of flowers and knows that there must be some poison flowers around. The flowers are too pretty though, so he forgets poison for a moment, thinking that he should decorate the outside of his cave with some pretty flowers to help take the edge off the pains of everyday life. As he happily thinks about that idea, a small creature suddenly emerges from the field of flowers, taking him by surprise. The creature stares at him for a moment too long, and the MC is sure that he has never seen that kind of monster before. He uses his view stat skill and finds out that it's a Venom Princess Lacerda, which has Venom Fang, Venom Claws, Double Poison, and Poison Master as its skills. It only has poison-related skills, and before he can properly react, the Venom Princess suddenly uses the clay gun skill, jumping at him from behind to bite him. The monster immediately leaves after that, making him think that it gave up the fight. However, that's when the venom hits, making him feel a strange kind of pain, as the divine voice informs him that poison resistance has gone from level 3 to level 4. This poison is definitely something else, because he can't even move his shoulder at all. After a while feeling extremely dizzy, the MC falls on the ground, realizing that this is part of that monster's plan. He checks his stats only to see that he's been poisoned with a major special venom, though he doesn't know if it's truly different from the normal kind. The view stats skill can't provide such specific information at level 3, so there's not much he can do. The MC tries to stand, but the pain is getting pretty bad, and now that he thinks of it, he hasn't seen any plants that can counter poison. There must be a way to fix this though, and he decides to get some information on that black lizard to find out. The divine voice informs him that it's a Venom Princess Lacerda, a rank D monster that poisons its prey and flees, then feasts upon the remains after the poison takes effect. By ingesting highly poisonous substances, it creates a potent poison internally. Its bodily fluids can serve as an antidote to the poison it creates, and it uses that to bargain for its life whenever it gets captured. The MC soon understands that he really needs to capture it to get the antidote, which doesn't sound easy, but he still can move a little thanks to his poison resistance. That black lizard must be waiting nearby for the poison to kill him, so he's going to have to gamble here. Without wasting more time, time, the MC starts running away, knowing that losing sight of him would make it all a waste, so the Venom Princess is surely going to chase after him. He soon spots the Venom Princess and immediately uses the roll skill to chase after her. Lacerda uses the same skill to run away though, but the MC knows that up ahead is that cliff that he jumped over when he was running away from the spider, so he'll draw her over there and capture her. The divine voice informs him that the skill roll has gone from level 4 to level 5. That means that he's much faster now, and that should make things easier. However, the MC suddenly stops by the impact of a clay lance, and he only then realizes that Lacerda can use the clay gun skill even when she's rolling. That only annoys him even more, so he soon starts chasing after her again, and this time he manages to dodge all of her attacks. He admits that the Venom Princess is really good at rolling, and one day she'll get even better than him at using that attack. However, he's not about to let her escape, so he decides to use the Nutcracker skill against her. This manages to stop the Venom Princess, but that's when the MC sees her falling off the cliff. He immediately jumps after her, because if Lacerda dies, he won't have an antidote to live. The strong poison damages him midair, making his vision blurry, but he manages to catch Lacerda and promises that he will save her. He then uses baby breath to propel himself in the air, bringing them both back to land safely. They've been saved because of that, but the MC can't stand the pain anymore, and he's pretty sure he's going to die, but there's nothing he can do about it before passing out. Meanwhile, Miria spends another whole day in the forest looking for Dawes, but she had no luck today either. She wonders where Dawes could be, but that's when she hears Marielle's voice calling for her. Miria quickly runs back to the village, and Marielle mentions that she hadn't seen her lately, so she was concerned and paid a visit to her house, but she wasn't there. Miria nervously explains that she was stuck in bed with a slight cold, but she went for a walk after she started feeling better. Marielle easily accepts that excuse, but she still seriously asks her if she isn't going into the forest. Miria firmly denies it and asks her to believe her, so Marielle decides not to question her anymore. She also mentions that she's gotten word from the guild that adventurers are headed their way, so she doesn't have to worry. Leaving that aside, Marielle asks her to give her a hand, since she's about to go shopping now. Miria quickly agrees and secretly sighs in relief, feeling glad that Marielle didn't catch her. After a while, the MC finally wakes up and sees the Venom Princess, and for a moment, he thinks that she's only waiting for the poison to kill him. However, he's taken by surprise when he stands up and his arms don't feel heavy anymore, which means the poison is gone. He soon understands that Lacerda gave him the antidote, so he doesn't hesitate to thank her. He mentions that they had a really fierce battle going through blood, sweat, and tears, so it probably made her realize they were kindred spirits. Lacerda doesn't deny it, and now that the MC is getting a better look, he realizes that she's actually pretty cute. He decides to take her back to his cave and prepares some food for the two of them. Lacerda enjoys the food, and even though she can't speak, she somehow lets him know that the food tastes good. The MC is just glad, because it's nice to have someone else to eat with, since he's always been alone until now. He then mentions that neither of them really have names, because Young Plague Dragon and Venom Princess Lacerda are just species names. Lacerda seems to realize this as well, but the MC reassures her, saying that they don't really need names. The Venom Princess rubs her head against his, and he mentions that it seems like she's gotten pretty attached to him already. He realizes that she is actually his first friend, and tells her that she can stay here as long as she'd like. Lacerda cheers, and that's when she notices a pot with something dark and toxic inside. The MC explains that it's the special poison he made earlier, and he freaks out for a bit when Lacerda simply starts eating it. She doesn't seem affected at all though, and he just then remembers that when she eats something that's highly poisonous, it only strengthens her own venom. For a moment, he wonders if it's delicious to her, and he decides to try a little to find out. However, as soon as he tastes it, he falls onto the ground and screeches in pain for the poison. The divine voice lets him know that the skill poison resistance has gone from level 4 to level 5. He quickly recovers thanks to that, but he still wonders how Lacerda can eat that like it's nothing. The next day, they both go back into the forest and face some gray wolves together. Lacerda uses her clay gun skill for long-range attacks, while the MC finishes them off with his fists. That was a cinch with the two of them, so he lets Lacerda know that they've got this whole teamwork thing down. The two of them continue walking through the forest, and Lacerda helps him in many ways. She even gets some coconuts from the top of a palm tree so they can have a refreshing snack while they're at it. At night, the MC wakes up, a little startled to find Lacerda sleeping closely on his shoulder. It is easy to forget that this little thing is packing a deadly poison, so he's just hoping that she doesn't bite him when she's half asleep. However, he admits that it feels normal for her to be here now, and it makes him feel like this life isn't bad at all. The next day, they go back into the forest again, and he soon finds that spicy fruit he wanted. He decides to try some, and it's exactly what he was expecting, though now he wants to eat meat. Lacerda also tries some of that fruit, but she doesn't like it as much, and he explains that spice isn't meant to be eaten straight. She suddenly senses something she actually finds delicious, and decides to guide him towards it. The MC follows her without a doubt, but he regrets it as soon as he smells something that stinks like rotting flesh. Lacerda waits for him next to a giant dark mushroom, and the divine voice informs him that it's called Candida cadaverus, which has a B value. It is a giant mushroom that emits the odor of a corpse, and it has a potent poison, but practically no animals would attempt to eat it anyway. The MC asks her if she's drawn to its poison, and Lacerda is simply preparing trying to devour that mushroom. However, before she can get any closer, the MC burns the mushroom to a crisp, saying that she'll reek if she eats something like that. The Venom Princess immediately cries and throws a tantrum, so he apologizes and tells her that he'll make it up to her with a different poisonous plant. Lacerda uses her clay gun skill, and for a moment, he wonders if she's really that mad at him. He soon realizes that she's actually aiming at something else, letting him know that there is an enemy nearby. She shoots the clay gun without hesitation and strikes a monster that was hiding behind some bushes. The monster suddenly comes out from its hiding spot, and the MC freezes when he sees a creature with two heads, one of a weeping dog and one of an angry dog. He doesn't know what this pressure he's feeling is, but it's definitely not something good. He immediately checks its stats and finds out that they're twin heads, and they're currently enraged and afraid. Not only does it have overpowered stats, but it also has creepy sounding skills like gravity and gravidon. The MC honestly doesn't know if he can win under these circumstances, but skills like tenacious and marking sound like they are used for tracking, which means that escaping seems difficult too. He glances at Lacerda for an instant, and it looks like they're both thinking the same thing. Without a word, Lacerda uses her roll skill to rush past the monster, and the MC attacks to draw its attention. The Venom Princess is supposed to use that opening to hit it with her poison, and the rest should be just a waiting game. That plan sounds perfect, but when the MC tries to punch one of the monster's heads, the other one tries to bite him. He quickly backs off, realizing that it won't be that easy apparently. The weeping dog suddenly casts a spell on him, making it impossible for him to move at all. His body feels heavy, letting him know that the monster is using its gravity skill. The angry dog sees the opportunity to attack now that he can't move, but Lacerda uses her clay gun to strike the weeping dog. That makes the gravity skill wear off in an instant, so the MC doesn't hesitate to jump and attack them with baby breath. The monster screeches in pain at the flames, but it simply uses a recovery skill right after to heal its wounds. The MC gets frustrated, wondering if everything in this forest has recovery skills of some sort or something. Despite that, he at least has learned something, which is that the angry face does physical attacks, and the weeping face uses magic. The weeping dog prepares another spell, and it looks more dangerous than the previous one, so the MC assumes it must be gravidon. He doesn't know what it is exactly, but he definitely can't let it use something like that. That's why he immediately runs straight towards the monster, letting the angry dog bite his shoulder. He then takes the opportunity to use Dragon Punch on the weeping face, and that's when Lacerda does her part and bites the monster to poison it. She quickly goes back to his side after that, and the weeping dog uses recovery magic to try to save itself. However, the poison is pretty potent, and the MC knows that no recovery skill is going to save it because he has experienced it once, so he knows it good and well. The monster screeches as its HP goes down in seconds, but the angry dog rages and suddenly bites the head of the weeping dog off, stopping the poison from spreading any further. Both the MC and Lacerda freeze at that, and he swears that he is never evolving into a two-headed dragon or anything like that. He doesn't think the monster can use magic anymore though, so he decides to check its stats right away. The twin head's status show that it's enraged, but there's a different skill now called sacrifice. Just then, the beheaded weeping dog jumps at them, and the MC realizes that it's trying to drag them down with it. Lacerda barely manages to dodge the first attack, so the MC immediately asks her to run. She uses the roll skill to run away, as he said, but the weeping dog immediately chases after her, disappearing into the forest. The MC tries to go after her to save her, but the enraged angry dog stands in the way, not letting him through. This puts him in a difficult position, because he has to hurry after them or the Venom Princess will be in trouble. That leaves him no choice but to fight the angry dog with sheer strength now that it has no magic left. The MC grabs it by the neck and throws it high into the air, just to jump right afterward and grab its head. He lets the monster know that it's over, and then makes it crash against the ground with great force, completely crushing its head. The divine voice informs him that the skill Nutcracker has gone from level 1 to level 2 with that. The MC is glad that this guy's taken care of, but he knows that it isn't over yet, because the weeping dog is still alive somehow, and he has to find the Venom Princess. Without wasting more time, he uses the roll skill to rush into the forest, hoping that Lacerda is okay. It's only been a few days since they met, but they have done so much together already, so he can't let her die. The MC remembers all the moments he's lived with the Venom Princess until now, and realizes that she is the only friend he has in this world. That's why he just wants her to be okay, and he even thinks that he doesn't need the human transformation skill. But in exchange for that, he hopes that the god of this world lets her be alright. The MC suddenly stops when he sees a fresh bloodstain on the ground, and that alone makes him panic. He starts desperately calling for the Venom Princess, begging for her to answer, wherever she is. After a moment, he manages to hear a weak squeak, and the Venom Princess comes out of some bushes, deeply injured and bleeding. The MC freezes when he sees her in that state, and as soon as she comes out, the head of the weeping dog jumps at her, trying to finish her off. With no hesitation, the MC jumps high in the air to meet that monster, and he immediately punches the weeping dog. After crushing the weeping head against the ground, the MC doesn't stop punching it repeatedly, completely enraged. He throws punch after punch without stopping for even a second, turning the weeping face into mush with his bare fists in no time. Once that's over, the MC goes back and gently takes the Venom Princess into his hands, saying that everything everything's okay now, and he's happy that she is still alive. He soon crumbles apart and starts crying in relief, so Lacerda tries licking his tears off his face. The divine voice then informs him about his progress, saying that he has received 234 experience points, and due to the effect of the Walking Egg title, he has earned an additional 234 experience points as well. The MC asks the divine voice to shut up for a moment because he's not thinking about any of that right now. He has realized that Lacerda is his one and only precious friend that he trusts in this world. So as long as he has her, he doesn't even care if he can become a human or not anymore. Just as he says that, the divine voice mentions that young Plague Dragon has gone from level 33 to level 37, and he has received the skill Human Transformation. The MC freezes for a moment right there, trying to process the new information, and he almost can't believe that that really just happened. In the meantime, back in the village, Marielle peacefully enjoys a cup of tea, and Miria informs her that she's finished cleaning the entrance and the hallway. She mentions that they hardly ever get guests from out of town like this, so she wonders what they're like. Miria notices the old book sitting next to her on the table, and Marielle tells her that it's a book about monsters she took from the library just because she thought she might like it. Miria thanks her and decides to take a look, seeing a page about darkworms with a large script along with the pictures. She can't read what it says though, so Marielle explains that it's ancient text and it describes the monster's rank. The darkworm is F rank, so even she could beat it, but D rank monsters are another story. She has to be a trained adventurer to have any hope of defeating those. Moreover, monsters higher than B rank are extremely dangerous, and only heroes and saints can defeat them. Miria is clearly concerned just by the description of it, but she decides to continue reading the book and sees a page about the rock dragon. Marielle tells her that the book says it's C rank, but she heard that they can get stronger with evolution. It is no doubt a monster that would easily kill any normal human, which is why she always tells her and the village people to never wander into the forest. Miria finally understands how dangerous it truly is, so she accepts her warning once again. After a moment of silence, Marielle mentions that it seems they have arrived, and just then, the two adventurer girls from before enter the house. A few minutes earlier, the two adventurers, Meltia and Yuno, were walking towards the village. Yuno asks Meltia why she took a C rank request even though she's with her, since C rank is pretty difficult, and they probably should have waited for their other members to come. Meltia tells her that it's actually easier if she's the only one with her, because she can just flee if the going gets tough. Yuno reluctantly mentions that she's not too confident she can escape though, and asks her if she's assuming that she's fast because she's part dog. Meltia just walks away, so Yuno assumes that she's simply okay with her dying, which really hurts her feelings. Meltia clarifies that she was joking, and explains that even though this is a C rank request, the objective is not to kill monsters, but to search the forest, so she didn't think it'd be particularly dangerous. Yuno then remembers that the request is about searching for a person who's supposed to be dead or something, though that sounds fishy to her. Once they finally reach the village, they go straight into Marielle's house, as she instructed. At first sight, Meltia mentions that it isn't often they see an elf in a human village, so it was a surprise. Marielle clarifies that she is only half-elf to be precise, and she asks Miria to leave for a little while. Once Miria leaves the room, Marielle explains that she doesn't want her to hear the details about this mission. This dead yet alive person they'll be looking for is a man named Daz, who was in a group with Miria, and they fought against a rock dragon. Marielle explains that Miria feels responsible for Daz's death, so she suspects that she's been going into the forest to look for him. It is extremely dangerous for her to go into the forest alone, and that's why she wants them to uncover the truth behind the rumor. Knowing this, Meltia and Yuno don't waste any more time and head into the forest. Yuno mentions that they basically just need to search the forest and find proof that Daz is dead. Meltia tells her that finding his corpse would be best, but in the worst case, they can settle this by just searching for several days and reporting that they found no suspicious people. As they head deeper into the forest, the MC takes Lacerda back to the cave and covers her with some herbs so her injuries heal faster. Since she'll be deeply asleep for a while, he decides to head out, saying that he just wants to check his stats after leveling up, of course. Once he does, he confirms that he indeed has the human transformation skill, and even though he said he didn't need it, he can't help but get excited. He decides to get away from the cave because the Venom Princess might attack if he suddenly became a human. The MC tries to convince himself that he doesn't want to do stuff like going to the village, interacting with people, or seeing Miria again. He keeps lying to himself until he reaches a lake, and he almost can't believe that he got the human transformation skill the moment he thought he'd be okay without it. He doesn't know what he should do if he becomes human though, because he doesn't want to part ways with the Venom Princess. However, living in a proper village would be nice, so if he switches every 3 days, maybe he can live in both the cave and the village. In any case, just the possibility that he could gain the trust of humans is awesome, so he can't help but feel super excited now and hopes he's a really handsome guy. He could think about this forever, but he decides to just go for it and uses the human transformation skill for the first time. His body instantly starts changing, but when he looks at his reflection in the water, his appearance is not what he expected at all. Unfortunately, he is even more grotesque than a young plague dragon, and he doesn't look human at all. The MC asks if human transformation is supposed to be this janky, but the divine voice tells him that it can't provide explanations of that nature at level 3. This only riles him up even more, so he asks the divine voice how many times it is going to give him hope and then snatch it away from him. In the first place, he wants to know how other young plague dragons use this skill to do anything evil at all. When he checks his stats, he notices that both attack and defense are down by half, and his MP is getting used up really quickly. The skill turned out to be worse than he thought, so he just gives up and returns to his normal form. Meanwhile, Meltia and Yuno manage to defeat a giant spider in the forest, but as they walk, the forest starts getting pretty dark, and they haven't seen any sign of Dawes. Yuno is sure that he can't be this far inside the forest though, and Meltia mentions that the monsters have gotten stronger too, so they should head back now. As soon as she says that, they both stop in their tracks when they see a cave, specifically the MC's cave. Meltia and Yuno cautiously approach the place, noticing two statues at the entrance of the cave. One is clearly a dragon statue, and the other looks kind of like a human, so Yuno assumes it's some sort of shrine made by dragon worshippers. Meltia tells her that she doesn't think this village has any religions like that though, and she can tell that these figures have been imbued with a powerful magic. Yuno then notices a smell, and after looking around for a bit, it doesn't take long for them to find meat drying out on the trees. Meltia takes hold of her sword and decides to take a look inside the cave, noticing how bright it is because of the light shrooms on the walls. She finds furs on the floor as a carpet, and Yuno notices a pot with something that smells good inside. She mentions that there are tons of red fruits in it, and Meltia immediately assumes that these red fruits used as spices are probably red gold peeperies. That's clearly a shock for both of them, because they've never even seen them before. Yuno quickly says that she's going to take some of them home with her, but Meltia warns her that she can't do that. After all, this cave is likely a hideout for thieves, and they could get caught up in some shady business if they're not careful. Lacerda suddenly wakes up and gets on guard as soon as she sees them, and Meltia asks Yuno to stay far away from that. After a moment, Lacerda exits the cave, and Meltia explains that it's a monster nicknamed the Venom Princess, which can kill with only a bite. Luckily for them, it seems to have fled for some reason, so they need to get out of this cave as soon as possible. Meanwhile, the MC paces around outside the cave, and he tries to make Lacerda calm down. He mentions that he saw the two adventurers go in the cave earlier, so they must be really impressed to see his pad. However, if he showed up right now, they would just assume he was a monster wandering into the cave. The excitement takes over him, and he decides to use the human transformation skill once again. Lacerda watches him transform this time, and somehow, the MC convinces himself that it's fine. After all, he learned that this world has demi-humans after seeing Yuno, who's part dog. He's sure there's a chance they could think of him as a puppy human, so he decides to shoot his shot and show up like that, happily saying hi. Both Meltia and Yuno immediately freeze, completely terrified by his grotesque form. Meltia snaps out of it first and forces Yuno to react and attack that beast. She throws the MC onto the ground, and Meltia tries to finish him off with her sword, using an attack called Lucent Luna. That blow easily cancels the MC's transformation, and that's when they realize that he's actually a plague dragon. Meltia decides to run immediately because her MP is already out, and there's no way for them to fight it. The MC tries to stop them and explain everything, but they're gone before he can do anything, and that leaves him feeling dejected and defeated. Meltia and Yuno continue running until they think it's safe, making sure that monster is not following them. Meltia tells her that she didn't think there were plague dragons living in this forest, so it was a nasty surprise. Yuno clarifies that they did tell them about rock dragons though, and asks her if they should go back to the village for now. Meltia declines the idea, since they hardly have anything to report if they go back now. Besides, they're going to need more manpower if they want to investigate further, which means they'll need to call the usual crew. That's why Meltia decides to leave the forest for now and get in touch with them. The next day, the MC wakes up fully recovered after resting all night, but he still feels down about what happened. He remembers something while he eats dry meat for breakfast, so he quickly heads back into the cave to talk to Lacerda. He explains that there are some stupid monkeys that are always stealing the jerky he makes, so he wants to poison the meat to teach them a lesson. He'd like the poison to be as strong as possible, without any color or smell that gives it away. Lacerda easily understands the task, so she produces poison and puts it in a pot. The MC is surprised that it's actually poison, since it perfectly looks like water, and there is hardly any color or smell. Lacerda is clearly pretty proud of her work, and the MC immediately marinates all the jerky with that poison and puts it outside. They both wait behind some bushes, and nothing happens for quite a while, until the MC almost falls asleep. That's when he hears the monkeys writhing and panicking after one of them falls because of the poison. The MC takes the opportunity to attack, saying that none of them are a match for him. 3 monkeys surround him, forming a team to attack, but MC warns them that Lacerda and he make a better team. That's when Lacerda uses her clay gun skill to attack, taking them off guard, and the MC takes the chance to knock them down with his tail. Just when they thought the victory was theirs, the monkeys use a skill to call their allies. In no time, a huge beast appears before them, and the MC assumes it is the alpha of their pack. The monkeys knew that they couldn't win, so they called in a higher-ranking monster. The MC quickly checks its stats to see what he's facing, and he soon finds out that this is a giant orangutan, and its stats are on par with his. However, the only difference is that this beast has skills like Quick, Power, Supporter, and Clan Boss. It has a skill that strengthens its followers, which is a big problem, and he knows he has to end this fast. Without wasting any time, the MC uses his baby breath to attack, but the army of monkeys forms an earth wall to protect the clan boss. He then realizes that he took too long, and the monkeys soon attack him again, but this time they're much faster. Lacerda uses clay gun to fight some of them, but one of the monkeys takes the MC off guard and bites his shoulder. The clan boss runs straight towards him, but the Venom Princess uses her roll skill to hit its face, and the MC punches the monkey off his shoulder. However, that's when the clan boss grabs Lacerda and throws her towards a tree, but the MC manages to catch her in time and leaves her safely on the ground. At this rate, he knows that things are just going to keep getting worse, so they must do something. He asks for more information about this thing, hoping that the Divine Voice skill can help him for once. The Divine Voice tells him that the giant Orangutan is a D+ rank monster, and explains that it's the evolved form of an orangutan that has fought and defeated the former alpha to become chief. Evolving through battle is considered sacred to the orangutans. Furthermore, they know a lot of support magic to assist their clan. That information doesn't help the MC much, but he just then remembers that he saw telepathic communication among its list of skills earlier. He quickly checks its stats to confirm and sees the telepathy skill in the list, which means maybe there's room to negotiate with the clan boss. Without hesitation, the MC takes hold of the poisoned monkey on the ground, using it as a hostage. He asks them to listen to him if they don't want him to hurt the monkey, and the clan boss surprisingly listens. The clan boss uses its telepathy skill to communicate with the MC, saying that it's incredible because he must know about his abilities. The MC tries to process the fact that he's speaking telepathically right now, but it throws him off a little. Once he gets it together, he mentally speaks to the clan boss and explains that the monkey might die from the poison. However, the Venom Princess can give it an antidote, and if she does that, they'll have to let them go. The clan boss immediately says that that's out of the question, because they have proven themselves too big of a threat for them to ignore. That's why it's better to dispose of them now while they have the chance, despite the sacrifices it may take. The MC warns him that if the Venom Princess and he come at them with all they've got, he has confidence that none of them will walk away alive. Despite this warning, the clan boss simply tells him that they weed out the weak and let them die anyway, because that's the way of their clan, just as he killed his forefather and ascended the throne. The MC only then realizes that there's seriously no room for negotiation in this situation, but there must be something he can do, because they can't go on like this. That's why he decides to challenge the clan boss to a duel. The clan boss is clearly surprised by this, because in their world, duels only occur in disputes between clans or when an alpha is supplanted. This is unprecedented, but he thinks it may work, because the rules could still apply even when fighting another species, only if he and the lizard are their own clan. The MC confirms that they are, so the clan boss decides to accept his challenge. He clarifies that the duel is a sacred ritual and warns the monkeys that none may interfere until there is a winner. Once that's settled, the Venom Princess extracts the poison from the monkey's body. The other monkeys suddenly grab Lacerda, and the clan boss explains that it's just to ensure she respects the rules of their duel, but she will be released if he beats him. The MC has no choice but to allow this, because he finally found a way to make this one-on-one. However, the clan boss has buffs and stuff, and he doesn't know how to fight that. Before he can even think about it for a bit, the clan boss suddenly jumps at him and attacks with his bare fist. The MC manages to block that with his arms, but the clan boss uses his legs to give him a strong kick that sends him flying away. Without letting him recover, the clan boss jumps at him right away and gives him another blow. The MC knows that he's just going to keep punching him, so he quickly uses the roll skill to avoid any attacks. The clan boss instantly chases after him like a beast, saying that running around doesn't make a fight, and his actions are an insult to them and disrespectful to their ritual. This makes the MC think twice, because he doesn't know what will happen to the Venom Princess if he keeps running, so he has to do something. Knowing this, he suddenly turns in the clan boss's direction, hitting him straight on the face to throw him off balance. Once he does this, the MC jumps high in the air and attacks the clan boss with a rolling tail attack. The sheer impact of this attack shatters the ground beneath their feet, and the MC doesn't give the clan boss any time to recover, throwing attack after attack without mercy. He takes some distance and checks his stats to see the damage he's done, noticing that the clan boss is in a state of minimal confusion after receiving all those blows. His low HP also lets the MC know that his attack actually took off more than he thought it would. That's why he takes the chance to attack again, but this time, the clan boss repels him, using all of his MP on agility. This makes him a lot faster, so the MC barely can dodge all of his attacks, and he tries to use baby breath to defend himself. However, the clan boss interrupts his attempt to attack with a strong punch that crushes him on the ground. The MC quickly gets out of the way before receiving another blow, knowing that he can't possibly get away from him like this. That leaves him no other choice than to face the clan boss in a head-on fist fight. He uses telepathy to tell the clan boss that this is a duel between two chiefs, so he must come at him head-on if he's not scared. The clan boss easily takes the bait, getting riled up rather quickly, so they soon begin throwing hands. After a while fighting that way, the MC is almost at his limit, and it's the same for the clan boss. The duel ends with a decisive blow from both sides, and the two of them instantly collapse, unable to fight anymore. As the MC loses consciousness, the Divine Voice informs him that Dragon Punch has gone from level 2 to level 3. He also has received 162 experience points, and due to the effect of the Walking Egg title, he has earned an additional 162 experience points. He went from level 37 to level 39 with that, and he also has gained the title Clan Boss level 1. When he opens his eyes again, the MC notices that he's in the cave, and the Venom Princess is next to him. Despite how confused he is, the MC remembers that he was battling the giant orangutan, and they started fist fighting. He quickly checks his stats and finds out that his level went up, which means that he won against the orangutan. Lacerda confirms this with a happy squeak, so the MC hugs her in celebration and assumes that she's the one who brought him back to the cave. He asks her just how in the world she managed to do that, but Lacerda's expression suddenly shifts to annoyance as she points at the monkeys in the cave, letting him know they're the ones who brought him. The MC quickly assumes that they've come to avenge their boss, but when he sees the monkeys cheering, he realizes that they actually see him as their boss now. He checks his stats again and confirms that he has the title skill Clan Boss now, which means he's become the boss of the monkeys. Lacerda just hisses at them like a cat, but the MC tries to calm her down, saying that the monkeys don't want to fight, and it looks like they want to be his followers. This is really lucky, because it means they can use the monkeys as gophers to handle the busy work. Lacerda reluctantly accepts, but she doesn't look happy at all about the monkeys' presence. Later that day, the monkeys gather a big pile of fruits for the MC, and that actually impresses him. Lacerda is not as impressed, and she doesn't like the fact that the monkeys gained the MC's praise so easily. Soon enough, the MC also offers the jerky he prepared to the monkeys, since he doesn't need to go out hunting today thanks to all the fruit. That's why he simply decides to refresh his supply of jerky, but one of the monkeys follows him to see what he's doing. The MC notices that the monkey is curious about it, and since they're so hungry for it, he decides to let them do the cooking. He teaches the monkey how to do all the steps of the process, starting off by cutting the meat. Once that's done, he puts all the sliced meat into a pot and adds salt and spices. The monkey observes the whole process up close, and the MC explains that he has to mix the sliced meat with the spices and rub it all in. After that, he just has to let it rest for a while, and that would make a good start. The monkey easily understands the instructions and decides to give it a try, clearly excited to have more jerky to eat soon. Everything seems to be going smoothly, but the MC suddenly notices that something feels off. That's when he sees Lacerda, who's completely furious. For some reason, he doesn't understand. Despite how scary that was, the MC easily dismisses it and decides to put the monkeys in charge of the jerky. However, he realizes that if he doesn't have to hunt, then it leaves him with nothing to do. Considering he has a bunch of new roommates, he knows that he'll have to store even more food, which means he also needs to make more pots. That's why he decides to go out later that day to make more pots with clay, and once again, one of the monkeys follows him to see what he's doing. The monkey apparently wants to give it a try, and that's when the MC remembers the fact that they have a skill called Nimble, and they've got long, slim fingers. Even though he hates to admit it, he knows that the monkeys can make these pots better than he can. Because of that, the MC teaches the monkey all the process, and once he's done, he tells him that it's his turn and shows him where the rest of the clay is. The monkey starts working on that right away, and the MC is glad that he now has someone in charge of ceramics. Just as he's about to exit the cave, he notices the Venom Princess hitting some clay. He finds this a little strange and asks her what she's doing, since she can't really do anything with those hands or front legs of hers. Lacerda freezes at that and then immediately runs away in tears, but the MC doesn't understand what's wrong and assumes that she's simply interested in ceramics as well. Soon after that, he gets 2 more monkeys and gives them tools he made out of clay bear, which turned out tougher than expected. He explains that they'll be in charge of widening this cave, since they're already good at using tools. The MC is content with how everything's going, but Lacerda isn't happy at all, and he doesn't realize. In a change of scene, we see Meltia and Yuno having a meal in town, waiting for the rest of the crew. Meltia mentions that Daz and Romina should have already gotten the message, so she's sure they'll hurry over after their current request is done. Yuno still feels uneasy as she remembers what they went through, and tells her that it's still crazy that they ran across a real plague dragon. Meltia is aware that it really scared her, and she also mentions that the cave was suspicious enough, so something is definitely going on in the forest, and they must look into it more. The next day, Lacerda panics and wakes up the MC, who's clearly confused and assumes there's an enemy nearby. He suddenly notices that his body feels heavy, and that's when he sees all the monkeys sleeping while clinging to his limbs. That explains why he can't move, and what's worse is that the monkeys actually stink. He tries asking them to wake up and give him some space, but the monkeys don't even flinch, letting him know that they're not getting up anytime soon. The MC easily gives up and decides to go back to sleep, but that just makes the Venom Princess angry. Just a few minutes later, the MC wakes up at the panicking noises of the monkeys. He instantly notices that one of the monkeys is out unconscious, and when he checks his stats, he sees that the monkey was poisoned with a major special venom. This confuses him for a bit, but that's when the Venom Princess starts laughing, and he already knows that she did it. Despite his angry reaction, Lacerda simply gives him a thumbs up, letting him know that she thinks it's fine. The MC scolds her and clarifies that it is not fine, so he asks her to give him the antidote right away. Lacerda has no other choice but to save the monkey, but she's clearly pissed afterwards. The MC recognizes that she's frustrated with the orangutans, but he tells her that poisoning them like that is taking it too far. Lacerda disagrees and points at the pots, and that's when the MC realizes that he's not been giving her any attention. Since she's mad about that, he decides to invite her to go out hunting together, like they usually do. The Venom Princess looks happy with the idea, and the MC is sure that she'll feel better if they spend the whole day together. In the meantime, we see that Miria is standing near the borders of the village, thinking about the fact that it has been a few days since those adventurers went into the forest. There's been absolutely no word from them since then though, so of course she's been worrying more and more. Miria decides that this is up to her after all, so she has to look for Dawes herself. She apologizes to Marielle and then steps out of the village, walking into the forest to search for Dawes. Meanwhile, the MC also walks into the forest with the Venom Princess, thinking about the fact that he is only one level away from evolving again. That's why he wants to farm more experience and also get more stuff to spruce up his cave. He also would like to get more fruits and veggies to make more meals, which is why he'll explore the forest all day. Lacerda follows behind him, but the MC soon notices that her mood is down, so he tries to make her cheer up, saying that everybody else is having a good time. That's when we see that the monkeys are also following them, mindlessly playing with the weapons he gave them. They're loud and annoying, but the MC only sees that the weapons apparently give their attack power a pretty big boost, so he can't wait to see how strong they are now. He asks Lacerda to let him know if she spots any prey, but she doesn't respond and simply walks away in silence. The MC is left a little confused, and Lacerda doesn't respond when he calls for her again, which makes him wonder what he did wrong this time. It's nothing new, but he thinks that it still sucks that they don't speak the same language because he can't understand what upsets her. Lacerda suddenly makes a noise and warns him of some monsters hiding behind the bushes. The MC rushes to her and finds two strange wolves, so he tells her that this will be a good warm-up. Lacerda gets excited for once, thinking that they'll finally fight together after so long. However, before they can even move, the monkeys suddenly enter attack mode and get rid of the wolves themselves, using the weapons he gave them. The MC is surprised to see that their attack power did have a pretty big boost, and he excitedly asks Lacerda if she thinks they're amazing too. The Venom Princess only crosses her arms though, pretty upset that the monkeys took over their hunt. She simply walks away again, not even waiting for him, which only further confuses the MC. On the other hand, Miria has no luck after a while walking deep into the forest, and she soon realizes that she's gone a little too far this time. She knows that she needs to turn back soon, but that's when she hears something nearby. As soon as she turns her head to see what the noise was, Miria sees a man standing in the middle of the forest. He simply walks away, but she immediately assumes that it's Dawes and tries to go after him. The man doesn't stop even after she calls for him, and Miria soon loses sight of him. She goes deeper into the forest just to try and find him, but once she realizes, it is already too late. Miria stops in her tracks when she feels a threatening presence nearby, and that's when she sees several eyes of creatures lurking in the shadows. Meanwhile, the MC catches up with Lacerda and apologizes for giving the orangutangs so much attention. He reminds her that he's their boss now, so it's nothing personal at all. The Venom Princess still looks sad, so the MC decides that they'll go hunting all by themselves next time, and the others will stay in the cave. After thinking about it for a moment, Lacerda finally gives in and happily jumps at him to hug him and lick his face. The MC is relieved that she's finally back to normal now, and he promises her that he'll keep her safe. He holds her and also lets her know that he considers her the most important thing in his life right now, and that will never change, no matter what happens in the future. Lacerda is very happy to hear that, but the cute moment suddenly ends when they hear a loud scream in the forest. The MC immediately lets go of her and stands alert, saying that he's heard that voice before. He already knows that it's Miria and assumes that she's in trouble again, so he has to go to her somehow. The MC hesitates when he sees Lacerda, wondering what'll happen if Miria is with other humans. Last time that was the case, and Dawes didn't hesitate to try to kill him with his sword. The other humans from the village also attacked him without hesitation when he saved Miria, seeing him as nothing more than a monster. They had no mercy, and they were going to kill him no matter what, which is why he asked Lacerda not to follow him, since he doesn't want her to get hurt. Without wasting any more time, the MC uses his roll skill to head in the direction the scream came from. However, the Venom Princess also uses her roll skill to follow him despite his request. Once he notices, the MC decides to speed up to leave her behind, but Lacerda does exactly the same thing, easily catching up to him. He tries to warn her that it is dangerous to go that fast at her level, so she should stop following him. As soon as he says that, the Venom Princess suddenly crashes against a rock, so the MC immediately stops to check on her. Lacerda instantly passed out with the impact, but the MC is glad to see that she still has plenty of HP left at least. That's when he hears a distorted voice nearby, and he knows that it's Miria, so he tries to go that way. However, the Venom Princess manages to stand and clings to his tail, silently asking him to stay. The MC knows that he can't do that, so he apologizes and leaves her behind, saying that he meant it when he said that she's important to him, but if Miria is in danger, then he has to help her. Just like that, the Venom Princess is left behind with tears in her eyes, and the divine voice informs him that the title Itty Bitty Hero has gone from level 2 to level 3. But at the same time, the title Wrongdoer also has gone from level 3 to level 4. The MC uses the roll skill to get to Miria as soon as possible, and he sarcastically says that the divine voice has the most charming personality ever. Of course he feels a little bad about it, but he can't stop now, so he just hopes that Miria is alright. Miria is completely cornered by wolves, having nothing more than her staff to defend herself. She's totally paralyzed in terror though, so there's no way she can fight back so many wolves on her own, and she definitely has no escape. The wolves slowly approach her, and Miria screams again when one of them finally jumps at her. However, just before the wolf can even touch her, the MC jumps in to protect her, getting rid of the wolf with only one strike. He just barely made it in time, and judging by Miria's reaction, he can tell that she doesn't recognize him at all. That was to be expected, given his new appearance, and the fact that she has no reason to remember him. The MC decides to ignore that and focuses on the enemy in front of him, using his skill to gather more information on them. The divine voice informs him that this enemy is called Mahawolf, a rank D monster that can use its third eye to share visual information with nearby members of the pack. They use this ability to cooperate and hunt down prey. After hearing this, the MC knows that he should expect more of them coming soon because of that third eye. He decides to ask about their stats, but the divine voice lets him know that there is some information that the view stats skill can't provide at level 5. When the MC tries to check their stats, he notices that the information displayed is glitching, and there is an encrypted text he can't read. That creeps him out a little, and he wonders what's wrong with that weird status. The MC then remembers that something like this happened before already, when he ran into that weird slime. The Mahawolves don't give him any time to think, so he uses baby breath on them before they attack. After taking down one of them with his fire, the MC uses his bare fists to finish off the others. He manages to get rid of them in no time, but Miria is still paralyzed in fear, thinking that she's next. The MC realizes just how scary he must look, and remembers the fact that he releases a poison powder when he spreads his wings, so he immediately closes them. He then checks her stats and is relieved to see Miria is okay, but she's clearly terrified of him when he approaches her. She asks him to stay away from her, and the MC immediately freezes, feeling hurt by her words. Miria is acting like the Demon King just barged in while she was getting robbed by bandits, so it definitely hurts him a little. Despite this, the MC tries to speak to her, hoping she can recognize him despite how different he looks now. Meanwhile, the divine voice informs him that he has gained 36 experience points, and due to the effect of the Walking Egg title, he has gained an additional 36 experience points. The MC gets frustrated by the bad timing, and tells the divine voice that this is hardly the time. The divine voice continues, saying that the young plague dragon has gone from level 39 to level 40, so he has maxed out his level and meets the requirements for evolution. The MC keeps complaining, not even listening to the divine voice, but the more Miria looks at him, the more she remembers. She finally recognizes him as the small dragon she saved once, so she tries to speak to him even though he doesn't understand. Miria then tries imitating what he did back then, so the MC quickly understands and starts doing the same. For the first time, they can finally understand each other somehow, and Miria doesn't look scared anymore. However, the wholesome moment doesn't last, because another pack of Mahawolves soon approaches them. The MC stands on guard, and without hesitation, he carries Miria on his back and runs away, saying that he'll protect her no matter what. Meanwhile, in the village, Marielle and the others have already noticed Miria's absence, and it doesn't take long for them to get worried. Gregory searches for her all through the village with the others, but there's no sight of her anywhere. Marielle was already expecting this outcome, and she's pretty sure Miria has gone into the forest, like she feared. Gregory asks her if he should go looking for her in the forest, but Marielle simply tells him that she'll do it, and asks him to go looking around the village again instead, because there's a chance Miria will come back. Gregory follows her instructions without a doubt, and asks her to be careful out there before leaving. On the other hand, Meltia and Yuno's crew finally arrive, and they all head towards the outskirts of Noah Forest. One of the adventurers takes a look at it and mentions that it doesn't look so scary to him, but Yuno assures him that it's really suspicious, like that cave with a jar full of peperies they found. On top of that, they saw a plague dragon, so they concluded that it was too risky for the two of them to continue investigating alone, and that's why they called for them. The crew asks her if they're going to start searching now, but Meltia informs them that they're headed to the village first. The plan is to meet with the client and get permission to proceed with their full roster. Without wasting more time, they all head for the village, while the MC continues running away from the Mahawolves with Miria on his back. Miria tries to warn him that the Mahawolves are right behind them, and even though he can't understand what she says, he's very aware of the situation. These monsters are really persistent after all, and there's a lot more than before. After a while, they reach a very narrow ditch, and the MC spots an opportunity, since he won't get surrounded there, which means he'll be able to protect Miria. Once he leaves her on a safe spot, the MC immediately jumps at the Mahawolves to get rid of them, using his baby breath skill and his own claws while fighting. He manages to defeat them without problems, but he still thinks it's kind of weird how they never tried to retreat at all, and he wonders why that is. The divine voice informs him that he can't gain experience points because he has maxed out his level. The MC already knows that, so he goes looking for Miria instead, not noticing the weird slimy creature that comes out of the Mahawolf's eyes. He carries Miria on his back again and runs, though he doesn't know what he should do. After all, if he tries bringing Miria back to the village like this, the same thing will happen again, and the other villagers will most likely try to attack him like they did last time. He also can't communicate with them, so there's no way something like that will work out. The MC starts wondering what Miria was doing alone in the forest to begin with, because there's no way way that she doesn't know how dangerous it is. Miria says something, but it sounds distorted to him, and he knows that he would be able to understand everything if he could just ask her directly. The language barrier really is a problem, so he decides to take her to a safe place near the village for now. To his surprise, Miria suddenly holds on to him tighter and says something again, but he kind of understands her this time. The MC enters a state of bliss because he's pretty sure Miria said thank you, and that means the world to him. The divine voice interrupts the moment to ask him if he'd like to view the evolution tree. That annoys him quite a bit, but he decides to give it a gander, and the divine voice shows him 4 different paths this time around. However, he notices that there's no plague dragon evolution even though he's a plague dragon. The divine voice simply tells him that it can't provide explanations of that nature at his current level. The MC dismisses that old warning and clarifies that he's not choosing the plague dragon anyway, because Miria would never ride on his back again if he did. That said, the divine voice then gives him the details on the evolution, saying that there's dark Drago-human. It's a low-ranking Drago-human, which is categorized as a demi-human, and its body is covered in dark scales. The MC doesn't know what a demi-human is, and it's hard to know for sure, but he thinks it's essentially a human, though it sounds way too good to be true, and he can't believe anything the divine voice says. The divine voice continues, naming the rolling dragon, a dragon that specializes in speed over strength, and it's the speedster of the dragon world. Hearing that, the MC knows that it obviously just uses the roll skill, so it doesn't sound very impressive to him. The divine voice then mentions the little arc dragon, a light-type dragon that has high intelligence and makes use of white magic. The MC instantly gets excited by that, even though it's hard to believe that a plague dragon can evolve into something so righteous. Being little means less evolution options later, but he likes the sound of white magic. The divine voice continues and informs him that there's also the Jormungand, which has the body of a huge snake. Its entire body is covered with scales that contain a deadly poison, and any soil this monster slithers over will become barren. The MC immediately rejects that option because that would make him the #1 enemy of humankind, and he'd be dooming himself. He tries to think about it as he runs, but Miria asks him to stop for a moment so she can drink water. While she refreshes herself, the MC continues thinking about his options, knowing that Jormungand is completely out of the question, obviously. He's interested in the roll specialization for the rolling dragon, but as much as he likes that skill, he can't shake the feeling he'd be turning into a circus show. Then there's Little Arc Dragon, which is a light type, and seems like he could get along well with humans. Although, in that case, Dark Drago Human might be better, since it's considered a demi-human, and that should mean it's in the same category as humans. He doesn't know how Miria would see him if he did that, but on the other hand, he's also a little concerned about how other monsters would treat him. What worries him more is that he doesn't know if the Venom Princess would accept him as a demi-human. The MC is having a hard time making a decision, and approaches him to ask him what's wrong. That takes him completely off guard, so he nervously explains that he's just been giving some thought to his future human life, though it's more like a dragonic life. He mentions that he's about to evolve into another monster, but he wants to know which she thinks is best. Miria looks a little confused due to the language barrier, but the MC tries his best to make her understand. He soon gives up though, simply wishing he could truly ask for Miria's advice on this. Miria hesitates for a moment, and then tries to communicate with him as best as she can, saying that her name is Miria. After a few attempts, the MC manages to understand that she's introducing herself, and that makes them both happy. He wonders if he understood her because his skill leveled up, and Miria continues trying to communicate with him, naming the things in their surroundings. Even though it's not perfect, they have a lot of fun together, and after a while, the divine voice informs him that the skill Greek language has gone from level 2 to level 3. At the end of the day, Miria explains that she's looking for someone, and she's come to this forest many times by herself without Marielle knowing. Now that the MC understands her, he assumes that she means the people who came to the cave. He tries to ask her that, but Miria doesn't understand, which he was already expecting. After all, thanks to the skill, he more or less understands what she's saying, but he still can't say a word to her. The MC then tries to communicate with her using sign language, and Miria manages to understand. She tells him that those 2 girls he saw are adventurers from the city, but she's not looking for them. Miria explains that she's actually looking for Daz, but the MC is a little confused by this because he's pretty sure he was killed by the little rock dragon. He uses sign language to let her know that he knows who she's talking about, and with this, Miria gets excited and confirms that he's the dragon that saved her back then. She suddenly hugs him, and the MC enters a state of bliss again, thinking that he might actually choose to be a demi-human. Miria steps back to ask him if he has a name, and that's when the MC realizes he doesn't have one. He shakes his head to say no, so Miria asks him what she should call him. The MC hesitates because he has never thought about it at all, which is kind of funny, especially since he's always looking at his stats. Miria notices that he has no idea at all, so she asks him if it's okay if she comes up with a name in that case. That gets him really excited, so much that it scares her a little, but he immediately agrees, wanting her to think of a name for him. Once Miria makes sure he's alright with that, she decides to think about it and takes a good look at him. After remembering all the moments when he protected her, she tells him that he's a hero. That's why she decides to name him Illusia, since that's the name of a flower she likes. The MC admits that it does sound sound nice. So he decides right there that his name is Illusia, and he'll go for that flower one day. Of course, the divine voice ruins the meaningful moment by asking him to confirm his name as Illusia, saying that once his name is confirmed, it can't be changed. The MC wasn't expecting the divine voice to react to that, and he certainly didn't know that was an option. Once he chooses a name, he won't be able to change it, but he thinks it should be fine either way, because Miria gave him this name, and he's Illusia now. Right after he takes that decision, the divine voice informs him that his name has been confirmed as Illusia. That makes him really happy, and Miria is glad to see that he likes that name. Illusia starts wondering if it's okay for him to be this happy, but the significant moment gets interrupted by the sudden sound of heavy footsteps. He immediately gets on guard, because he knows the only thing in this forest that can make that type of footstep. Illusia lowers his body so Miria can get on his back again, and he instantly starts running. He thought this creature's den was further away though, but what's important now is to take a detour and head to the village. After dropping Miria off in a safe place, he will then go look for Daz on his own, just so she doesn't risk her life again. Soon enough, one Maha Wolf chases after them, and Illusia notices that it has a magic energy reception status, which means they're being controlled by something. He doesn't know that for sure though, so he just hits the Maha Wolf with his tail and keeps running. However, other Maha Wolves soon start chasing after them as well, and he notices something even more weird. Illusia suddenly stops to take a good look at it and sees Daz riding one of the Maha Wolves for some reason. He seems to be out of his mind, but Miria gets worried and tries to ask Daz why he's with monsters. Illusia quickly checks Daz's stats to see what's going on, but for some reason, his skill list is completely empty and he doesn't know what that means. Daz's eyes are entirely blank, and he's clearly in a state of madness as he draws his sword. Miria is still worried though, so she approaches him without thinking, asking him to snap out of it. The Maha Wolves try to attack her though, so Illusia quickly steps in to protect her. Daz takes the opportunity to attack him with his sword right then, so Miria casts a fireball to stop him. Thanks to that, Illusia manages to knock him down, but he's really confused to see Daz panicking and hugging a clump of dirt like it's a treasure. Daz quickly gets back up and uses the Maha Wolves as a shield, but before they can do anything, Miria warns him that she can hear more footsteps and they're coming closer. She increasingly gets more concerned as she thinks what creature these footsteps belong to. Miria's expression then changes to horror as she imagines what Daz is holding. Daz gets back on one of the Maha Wolves and points his sword towards the village, letting them know that's where he's heading. Illusia doesn't understand why he's doing this though, and he has no idea what Daz wants with the village. He simply doesn't get it, but Miria assures him that this is bad because the thing Daz was holding might be a rock dragon egg, and it'll be awful if he brings it into the village. Illusia quickly understands that Daz is actually baiting the little rock dragon, so they have to give it back as soon as possible. The Maha Wolves are in the way though, so Illusia carries Miria on his back again and runs, wondering where Daz went and if he's leading the little rock dragon to the village on purpose. Maybe this is part of some revenge plan or something, but he doesn't understand why he is riding on the back of those monsters. Illusia's thoughts are all over the place, which is really frustrating and risky in this critical situation. He is still getting chased by Maha Wolves, and he has to protect Miria, so he can't possibly shake them off while she's on his back. To his surprise, Miria is well aware of this, so she makes a decision and asks him to leave her behind and keep going. She will hold the monsters at bay, and she wants him to stop Daz in the meantime. Illusia simply asks her if she's crazy and tells her that there is no way she can beat those wolves. Despite the language barrier, Miria already knows that he's against the idea, but she still insists and asks him to save the village. After a lot of hesitation, Illusia gives in and suddenly stops, letting one of the Maha Wolves stab him on his back with its claws. Illusia doesn't move though, because he's now actually mad, and he immediately counterattacks with his fist. Right after that, he grabs the Maha Wolf and uses the Nutcracker skill to totally wreck the monster. However, as soon as he defeats that Maha Wolf, the others take the opportunity to approach Miria. Illusia doesn't waste any time and immediately steps in to protect her, using his claws to defeat the Maha Wolves. Unfortunately, since there are quite many of them, Miria's shoulder gets injured by one of the Maha Wolves' claws. Illusia quickly takes it down and holds Miria in his arms, saying that everything is going to be okay. Despite her injured state, Miria still worries more about others and asks him to hurry to the village to save them. Illusia accepts her request, promising that he'll protect the village, but he holds her and clarifies that he is going to protect her as well. In the meantime, the kids in the village are playing around, completely unaware of what's going on. Since the sun is going down already, Gregory asks them to get home quick. The loud and dangerous growl of a little rock dragon is heard in the distance, but Gregory can't tell what it is, and it leaves him very confused. Marielle also manages to hear that roar, but she convinces herself that she must be imagining things. It is getting dark quite fast, and she has to find Miria as quickly as possible, so she can't stop for anything. Meanwhile, Meltia and her crew head for the village, and they take down several Maha Wolves along the way as the sun sets. Daz continues advancing at high speed, while a dangerous and angered little rock dragon chases after him, wanting to get its egg back. While this is all happening, the suspicious and mysterious slime from before lurks in the shadows of the forest without anyone knowing. Miria is clearly still suffering because of her injured arm, but Illusia never lets go of her as he runs, knowing that he has to hurry and go to the village as soon as he possibly can before everything becomes a complete disaster. monster. While he's running as fast as he can, Miria manages to wake up, and she soon understands what's going on. She thanks him for bringing her to the village with him, and Illusia is just glad to see that her injuries don't seem to be that bad after all, so she should be fine if she uses her recovery magic on her wounds. As soon as that goes through his head, Miria casts a spell called Rest, but she uses her recovery magic on Illusia's wounds instead of her own. Illusia is clearly surprised by this, and Miria explains that his back must hurt from all the strain, especially after that Mahawolf attacked him with its claws. She mentions that she can't cast any more spells after this though, so they have to hurry. With this, Illusia confirms once again just how kind she is, so he continues running at high speed for her sake and the village's safety. In the meantime, right after he warns the kids to go home, Gregory faces a Mahawolf on his own with a spear. He doesn't know what's going on though, and he fears that Marielle's warding stones just stopped working since it's not keeping monsters away from the village anymore. The Mahawolf doesn't wait any longer and jumps at him, so Gregory rests his spear on the ground to impale the monster. This manages to take the Mahawolf's life almost immediately, though Gregory ends up getting crushed by its weight. As he tries to escape, Gregory suddenly sees a plague dragon, and he instantly gets defensive, saying that he won't let it get near the village. He's clearly trying to pull his spear out of the Mahawolf to attack, and that is exactly what Illusia was expecting, just like the last time he tried to help. This time though, Miria is fortunately awake to explain things, so she asks Gregory to wait, and informs him that this dragon is named Illusia, and he has come to save the village. Gregory is shocked to see Miria on a dragon's back, and she just asks him to believe her. As he tries to process the situation, Gregory suddenly realizes something, and Illusia also recognizes that his face looks familiar. Gregory soon realizes that this plague dragon is the one that visited the village before, and Illusia remembers that Gregory is the one who stabbed him in the leg. Miria steps in to confirm their suspicions, and informs Gregory that even though it looks like a plague dragon now, it's the same dragon that brought her to the village last time. She assures him that Illusia is very kind, and he's friendly to humans, so he's definitely an ally. Gregory soon understands that that dragon was just trying to help her that one time. It is hard to believe that there are plague dragons who help humans, but Gregory decides to trust in Miria's words, and he apologizes to Illusia for stabbing him that time, even though he had no way of knowing. Illusia gets really happy at this, and he instantly thinks that Gregory is such a good, reasonable guy. Gregory realizes that he's trying to reply to him, and Miria explains that Illusia can understand what they're saying. Gregory doesn't have much time to be impressed by that, because they soon hear a loud roar from the rock dragon once again. Miria quickly asks him if he has seen Daz, and Gregory informs her that Daz sicked the Mahawolf on him and then ran off by himself. Miria lets him know that Daz is planning to get that rock dragon to attack the village, and he's using its egg as bait, so they have to stop him as fast as possible. Before she can leave with Illusia, Gregory tells her that he'll join them, because things could get chaotic if the villagers freak out at the sight of a plague dragon. That certainly would help a lot, so Miria easily agrees, and Illusia allows him to hop on his back. Meanwhile, the villagers are still completely unaware of the situation, and some of them are just wondering what that sound was, since it came from the forest. The kids are still playing with swords outside, but they stop as soon as they see Daz. They're all clearly excited to see him, and Bertz just tells them that he was right because Daz is living and breathing. None of them notices that he's completely out of it though, and soon, the villagers freak out when they see a plague dragon. Despite the terrifying sight, they're a little confused to see Gregory and Miria on the dragon's back. Gregory ignores all the confusion and asks them if any of them have seen Daz, and one of the villagers lets him know that he went towards the watchtower. As soon as he says that, they hear the loud roar of the rock dragon coming exactly from that direction, and everyone soon starts to panic. Gregory knows that this is bad because the rock dragon is getting really close, and they don't have much time. Miria tells him that they have to stop Daz quickly, but Gregory asks her to let him and the dragon handle this. He wants her to grab everyone and evacuate west of the village instead. Miria hesitates at first because she really doesn't want to let them go on their own, but Gregory reminds her that she's injured, and that's just going to make her a liability if she goes with them. Illusia recognizes that he's right about that, and he doesn't want Miria to face any more danger either. He lets her know that he agrees somehow, and Gregory tells her that she doesn't have to worry about Illusia because he'll be with him the whole way. Miria finally relents and accepts to take care of the villagers, but she only asks them to take care before leaving. They soon run in opposite directions, and Gregory mentions that it's crazy to think that a little hatchling became this big plague dragon. He's heard stories of monsters growing bigger and stronger, but it's still hard to believe. Illusia makes a sound to let him know that he's listening, and Gregory tells him that once this situation is taken care of, he'll introduce him to everyone in the village so they can all be friends. Illusia beams in happiness at that, hopeful that he's on his way to Haradam, and that everybody will cheer for the Dragon of Justice and welcome him with open arms. He once again thinks that Gregory is the best guy ever, and he's clearly radiating happiness. In the meantime, the villagers soon realize that Daz is out of his mind, especially after he attacked Bertz and tried to take down the others. They keep their distance and ask him to put down his sword, but it's obvious that Daz isn't listening to reason. Jean, one of the kids, hides behind a box, wondering what's going on with Daz right now. Soon, all the villagers freak out when they see a plague dragon approaching, but Gregory informs them that this dragon is their ally. Without any further explanation, he asks everyone to get out of there, saying that they will handle Dawes. The villagers still have no idea of what's going on though, so Gregory warns them that a rock dragon is headed this way, so there's no time to waste. Everyone soon runs away from the place, but Jean remains hidden behind the box, completely paralyzed. Dawes immediately attacks Gregory, and even though he blocks the blow with his spear, he easily gets knocked down. Illusia gets worried about him, and when Dawes tries to attack him, he simply kicks him away, asking him if he really thinks that he can slay him with a sword like that. Before Dawes can hit the ground, Illusia punches him in the air and then holds him down with his weight. Dawes has no way to escape, making it easy for Illusia to end everything with one move. However, before he can land a fatal blow, Illusia hesitates, knowing that he can't do this. After all, even if it's justified, killing a human will make him a real monster. Dawes continues grinning and laughing despite everything, but Illusia decides to simply put him to sleep, flicking his head with his claws and saying that he's a dragon of justice, so he'll avoid killing whenever possible. When Gregory sees that he didn't kill Dawes, he truly confirms that Illusia is a friend to humans, without a doubt. Now that the threat has been neutralized, Illusia immediately searches for the rock dragon egg. However, to his surprise, Dawes wakes up and stands right away, which makes him wonder if he's truly human. When Illusia checks his stats, he notices that Dawes has the same abnormal status as the Mahawolves. Dawes continues grinning and laughing in a creepy way as he picks up his sword, and that's when Jean tries to talk to him and make him snap out of it. Without a second thought, Dawes jumps right behind the little kid and puts his sword against his neck, taking him hostage. He slowly walks away from Gregory and Illusia, while Jean still tries to reason with him, reminding him who he is. Now that a kid is in danger, Illusia can't do anything now, but he knows that the little rock dragon will make it here if he just stands around. Jean soon starts crying, realizing that he can't bring the Dawes he knew back, and there's nothing they can do about it. Dawes continues steadily walking backwards towards the rock dragon egg, keeping a firm hold on Jean's neck. Illusia just wonders what to do now, because if he makes any hasty moves, Dawes will kill that kid for sure. Dawes suddenly lets go of the sword to pick up the egg, but before they can do anything, a weird slime comes out of his mouth and grips around the top of the watchtower, pulling him up with the kid and egg in seconds. This clearly takes them off guard, but before they can even wonder what that was, the little rock dragon reaches the village and immediately spots the egg in Dawes' hand. Dawes raises the egg with one hand, still holding the kid with the other, and Gregory realizes that he's planning to smash the egg right in front of the rock dragon's eyes. Illusia clarifies that he won't let that happen, and he immediately jumps at Dawes, trying to reach for the egg. However, as soon as he jumps, Dawes suddenly throws Jean off the watchtower, and without a second thought, Illusia flies at high speed just to catch the kid. He manages to catch Jean and save him, but at the same time, he witnesses the way Dawes completely smashes the egg against the ground. As soon as the egg shatters, the little rock dragon instantly loses it and starts destroying the ground beneath them out of pure rage. Marielle is still in the forest looking for Miria, and she has no idea of what's going on in the village. When she finally decides to return, she's glad to see that Miria is already back and safe. She notices all the villagers evacuating though, so Miria explains that Dawes lured the rock dragon into the village. Meanwhile, after that attack that shook the ground, Illusia manages to protect the kid. He then sees the rock dragon and wonders if this is the worst case scenario, thinking that maybe he screwed up when he didn't kill Dawes. Illusia is still glad to see that the kid is okay though, which truly is a relief. Gregory approaches him soon after that to see if he's okay, so Illusia gives him the kid and points towards the west. Gregory easily understands that he's asking him to take the kid and leave, but before doing anything, he asks him what he's going to do. Illusia uses sign language to let him know that he's planning to fight, and even though he's a little concerned, Gregory agrees and just asks him not to die. He immediately runs away from the place, and Illusia knows that this is highly risky, but he can't back down now, because there are still people out there he must protect no matter what, so he's going to fight for their sake. After all, that's his way of the dragon. Illusia immediately checks the enemy's stats and sees that the little rock dragon has a major enraged status, and its HP is completely full. He also notices that it is far stronger than it was before, so he has no idea if he can win or not, but at the very least, he can buy time for everyone to get out of here safely. With that in mind, Illusia runs straight for the little rock dragon, dodging all its moves at high speed and attacking with all he has. He jumps high in the air and uses Dragon Punch against the little rock dragon's back. This move hurts him more than the little rock dragon though, because its body is really hard, as the name implies. Knowing this, Illusia decides to try something different and uses Baby Breath right away. The intense flames do nothing against the rock dragon, but he doesn't give up and tries his meteorite skill, throwing giant rocks against it. Illusia soon sees that nothing is really working, and the little rock dragon knocks him down in just a second. Its attack and defense stats are way higher than anything Illusia has encountered so far, so he doesn't know what to do now. While he's on the ground, Illusia notices that only one attack from the rock dragon took way too much damage, and worse yet, he can't think of a move that will actually work on him. He starts thinking that he might be done for at this point, but that's when an arrow hits the rock dragon's face. Illusia then sees that Gregory is back with 2 more villagers, and even though their arrows do nothing against the rock dragon, they're just trying to drive its attention away from him. They let him know that they consider him a friend now, and they're going to protect their village no matter what, so they have to beat the rock dragon together. Illusia is glad to see them back, and when they start fighting with everything they have, he knows that he can't stay behind. That's why he gathers all the strength he has left and stands, saying that he's not done yet. Without a doubt, Illusia jumps at the little rock dragon and uses Nutcracker to kick its neck, making it lose balance. While the rock dragon focuses on him, the villagers take the opportunity to shoot some arrows to its face, and one of the arrows manages to go into one of its eyes. Gregory informs the other villagers, Oris and Lucas, that he and the plague dragon are going to get the rock dragon's attention, so they must aim for the opposite eye when they get the chance. Illusia agrees with that plan, assuming that the last attack surely did some damage. However, when he checks the little rock dragon's stats, he notices that it actually barely did anything, since its HP just went from 262 to 241. The situation worsens when he sees that the little rock dragon is about to use its tremor skill. The rock dragon stands on two legs and then lets itself fall to shake the ground and make earth columns emerge from it. Lucas is caught between one of these columns, and before Oris goes through the same, Gregory immediately pushes him out of the way, getting caught himself. As soon as Illusia's attention focuses on him, the little rock dragon gives him a strong blow from behind, easily knocking him down. He still tries to think about what to do now, because they'll be really done for at this rate. That's when the divine voice suddenly speaks, but it sounds different than usual, and it just asks him to run away, like the first time he encountered the rock dragon. The divine voice informs him that the divine voice skill has gone from level 3 to level 4, so he can now access the simplified simulator rendered by Laplace. Illusia doesn't understand what's going on, but he's in a completely different place. The divine voice tells him that he won't run no matter how much she warns him, because he was an exception to the rule in so many ways, and it is unfortunate that this is where they must part. Illusia is just mad that the divine voice leveled up only to tell him this, but the divine voice continues speaking, saying that she never got tired of watching him. She asks him to rest in peace, but Illusia tells her that he's sick of her condescending babble and asks her who she is. As always, the divine voice tells him that it can't provide explanations of that nature at level 4. Illusia just wakes up back at the village and tells the divine voice that he's going to prove her wrong. After all, he still has his last resort, evolution. The downside is that it'll change how he looks, which means Miria and the Venom Princess may not recognize him anymore. There are 4 different evolutions he can choose from now, so Illusia tries to decide which one he should choose as he dodges the rock dragon's attacks. There's Jormungand, and he might stand a chance at winning if he picks that one, but its deadly poison is seriously bad news. The rolling dragon specializes in the roll skill, but he doesn't know if that's actually powerful. The dark Dragohuma is another choice, but he doubts that demi-humans are good in battle, and he has no idea what to expect. He also doesn't know if the little arc dragon's white magic can be used to attack, or if it's enough to beat the rock dragon. Illusia just wonders which one is most likely to win, and with that question, he suddenly feels like all his MP got taken from him. The divine voice then informs him that he has received the title Laplace Authority Interference. She informs him that if he evolves into Little Arc Dragon, his odds of winning are 4%, and there is a less than 1% chance of him saving all his injured allies. If he evolves into Jormungand, his odds of ending the battle in a draw are 98%, but there's a 94% chance the village is totally destroyed. If he evolves into a rolling dragon, he has less than a 1% chance of victory, but his odds of a successful escape are over 99%. Illusia is just getting more frustrated and confused because he doesn't understand why the divine voice is giving him all these predictions. He stands from the ground just to curse at the divine voice out of frustration, but Gregory notices a strange light coming out of him as he screams. In the meantime, while the adventurers are camping in the forest, they hear a loud noise coming from the village, so Meltia knows that they have to hurry. Marielle, on the other hand, already knows that the rock dragon is going berserk, so she asks Miria if all the villagers evacuated. Miria tells her that quite a few of them haven't shown up yet, but that's when she sees a woman carrying Jean on her back, being escorted by another villager. She immediately approaches the kid to heal any wounds, and Marielle asks the villager about Gregory's whereabouts. The man informs her that he's in the center of town because he and a couple others said they were going to stop the rock dragon. Marielle decides to head over there as well, so she asks Miria to stay and provide aid for the villagers here. Miria clarifies that she has already helped everyone she can here, so she's going with her, because she's sure there are plenty of injured people over that way. Mariella can't argue against that, so she allows her to go with her and search for Gregory and the others. Meanwhile, Illusia is still wondering which option he should choose, and he knows that he has to be quick before the situation gets even worse. He thinks about helping Gregory first, evolving into the little arc dragon, and using recovery magic. However, the divine voice warns him that if he evolves into little arc dragon, his odds of winning are 4%, and there is a less than 1% chance of him saving all his injured allies. Illusia gets frustrated by the divine voice, and he impulsively jumps at the little rock dragon to attack without thinking. He manages to knock it down, and takes the opportunity to go to Gregory and see how he's doing. Gregory can't even properly speak though, and Illusia soon notices that he's bleeding out, so he doesn't have much time left. He plans to evolve into a little arc dragon to heal him, but Gregory's hand suddenly stops him, and he uses all the strength he has left to speak. Gregory asks him not to worry about him, and mentions that he doesn't know what reason a plague dragon like him could have to help humans, but even if it it makes no sense, there is one thing he's convinced of, which is that he isn't using his true power. Illusia is a little taken off guard by this, but he's even more shocked when Gregory asks him to do him a favor, and he asks him to eat him. Before Illusia can even react, Gregory explains that he's a plague dragon, so he should get stronger when he eats people. Illusia immediately denies it, saying that he's not that extreme of a monster, and he doesn't power up like that, since the only way he gets stronger is through evolution. He suddenly freezes when he remembers his evolution tree, and the divine voice reminds him that he's a young plague dragon. It's the first stage of an evil dragon that spreads disaster, but it has not strayed too far from the righteous path, and may yet backtrack. He also remembers that there is no plague dragon evolution, even though he's a plague dragon. Illusia can't stop thinking about that, and Gregory decides to speak again, saying that even though he helped Miria, he stabbed him with his spear, and he's still fighting the rock dragon to help humans. Illusia knows that because he just wanted the humans to accept him as the hero who saved their village. Gregory tells him that he's really not at all how a monster should be, but if that's the reason he can't beat the rock dragon, he's willing to give him his own life to change that. Gregory grabs one of Illusia's claws and brings it to his neck, while he asks him to protect the village. Illusia's eyes immediately fill with tears, but those tears soon turn crimson red when he finally decides to cut Gregory's head off. The divine voice informs him that he can't gain experience points because he has maxed out his level. His wrongdoer title has gone from level 4 to level 5, and the calamity title has gone from level 1 to level 3, while the dastardly king title has gone from level 1 to level 2. That was a major level up, so Illusia knows that there really is no turning back for him now. He decides to see the evolution tree now, so the divine voice informs him that there is Plague Dragon, rank B-, an evil dragon that brings disaster wherever it roams. It has destroyed many human villages, and it bathes itself in a sea of blood, sleeping atop the resulting mountain of corpses. It is one of the 3 great calamity monsters. Knowing that there's no turning back, Illusia decides to evolve into a plague dragon, and his body instantly starts getting bigger. After witnessing everything, Aurus immediately runs away, completely horrified after seeing Gregory's death right in front of his eyes. Illusia lets him go, completely focused on fighting the rock dragon to make sure to protect the village with the power that Gregory's sacrifice gave him. He soon clashes against the rock dragon, instantly noticing just how heavy it truly is. Illusia knows that he can't possibly beat the rock dragon in a shoving match, but now that he's bigger, he can use his wings to help himself, and he takes the opportunity to use his claws against the rock dragon. His claws still can't go through the rock dragon's thick skin, but Illusia quickly flies to an open field to drive the rock dragon away from the village, saying that this is where he'll defeat it. In the meantime, Miria is still trying to find Illusia and Gregory, but Marielle only wonders where the rock dragon went. Aurus only then comes out of his hiding spot, so Marielle immediately asks him where the others are and what happened to Gregory. As soon as he hears that name, Aurus gets disturbed by the memory of what happened. Since he simply can't bring himself to say it, Aurus takes them to Gregory's lifeless body. Once he composes himself, Aurus explains that the black dragon did it, and he saw how he killed Gregory with his claws. Marielle quickly assumes that he's talking about the plague dragon Miria brought to the village. Miria can't possibly believe this, but Aurus assures them that he saw it with his own eyes, and that black dragon cut Gregory's head off, then it suddenly got bigger. Marielle asks him if he means it evolved, but Aurus is not very sure himself, and he just tells her that the black dragon moved east while fighting the rock dragon. He thinks that's just monster behavior though, but Miria still firmly believes that Illusia couldn't have killed Gregory. Marielle asks her to calm down, and reminds her that they have more important things to do right now. Miria only then notices the rest of the villagers who haven't evacuated, and Marielle tells her that they need to hurry and treat the injured. Without a second thought, Miria hurries to help the villagers, and Aurus follows her to help as well. Marielle just keeps thinking about the plague dragon and the rock dragon, knowing very well that the village is doomed if they come back. Meanwhile, Illusia continues fighting the rock dragon to avoid just that, but the fierce battle proves to be more difficult than expected. When he tries to fly and gain some distance, the rock dragon suddenly bites his tail, and it uses tremor to try and stab him. He manages to release himself in time and instantly dodges another attack from the rock dragon. Illusia decides that it's his turn now and uses the whirlwind slash skill, creating several wind slashes with his wings. The rock dragon can't possibly dodge the blow, so Illusia thinks that this newly gained skill is pretty useful. He quickly checks his stats to see the other new skills he has now, which are whirlwind smash and neckbreaker. He sees the neckbreaker one and assumes that it hits hard, but before he can even think about using it, the rock dragon suddenly lunges at him, so he has to dodge the attack through air. Illusia is lucky that he can fly now, because he knows that he would have been done for if that attack hit him. He decides to check the little rock dragon's stats to see its current HP, and realizes that none of the hits he landed made a good dent in it because it's highly sturdy. He wonders if the rock dragon has a weak spot somewhere, but the divine voice tells him that it can't provide explanations of that nature at level 4. Illusia already knew it would say something like that, so he keeps himself in the air while he thinks and tries to figure it out himself. Considering that the little rock dragon's body is hard as rock, he thinks that its weak spot could perhaps be the head. There's nothing he can do but try, so he immediately lunges at the rock dragon, using Dragon Punch to hit it on the side and make it lose balance. Illusia then uses Dragon Tail to hit the rock dragon square on its face and uses Whirlwind Slash to crush its eyes. The little rock dragon frantically moves around now that its vision is completely gone, and Illusia knows that this should be easy pickings if it can't see. He can just beat it into submission now, but before he can do anything, the rock dragon tries running away towards the village. Illusia panics for a moment and immediately gets in the way, saying that he's not going to let it go any further. In the meantime, Miria finally finishes healing all the wounded villagers, and Marielle asks Oris to take those who can move and evacuate west of the village. Oris quickly complies and helps one of the villagers evacuate, so Marielle tries to tell Miria that they're going to search around the area. She trails off when she notices that Miria is nowhere to be seen, and that can only make her think the worse, which is that Miria went after the plague dragon. Illusia is still trying to stop the rock dragon from going back to the village, but it becomes more and more difficult due to how heavy it is. The rock dragon also uses his head to hit him repeatedly, but Illusia never budges, and he keeps trying to stop it. In a desperate attempt, he starts swinging his wings to spread dragon scale powder, hoping that his poison works on the little rock dragon, to at least weaken it a little. The little rock dragon soon reacts to the powder and keeps trying to escape, but Illusia firmly holds it in place. As the little rock dragon struggles, Illusia manages to see his neck from another angle, and realizes that the neck seems slimmer than the rest of its body, so it must be its weak spot. He throws a punch to test it out, and when the little rock dragon loses its balance for a moment, Illusia confirms that it is indeed its weak point. That's how he knows that he just has to continue throwing punches, and to completely pummel it non-stop. Without a second thought, he starts punching the little rock dragon's neck with force, not giving it any chance to respond. The little rock dragon can't even fight back because of the poison, since it hinders its movements, and Illusia's constant blows makes it worse. After throwing several punches, Illusia decides that it's time to snap its neck once and for all, so he tries out his new skill, Neckbreaker, since he didn't have the chance before. As soon as he activates the skill, he can perfectly see a line of yellow symbols across the little rock dragon's neck, and the only red symbol indicates exactly where its weak spot is. Illusia doesn't hesitate for a second, and immediately uses Neckbreaker to throw a powerful punch against its neck. The force of that punch alone is enough to make the little rock dragon's neck snap at once, giving it an instant death. The enraged little rock dragon finally falls defeated after getting its neck broken by Illusia, and the divine voice confirms his victory by saying that he has received 384 experience points, and as always, due to the effect of the Walking Egg title, he has also earned an additional 384 experience points. The divine voice also mentions that Plague Dragon has gone from level 1 to level 19. Illusia collapses right after that, feeling relieved that he managed to defeat the little rock dragon and that the village is safe now. He quickly opens his eyes when he hears Miria's voice, and he's surprised to actually see her there. What surprises him more is that she still recognizes him despite his evolution, and she doesn't seem to fear him. Miria slowly approaches him and tells him that she knows that he beat the rock dragon for them, and he got bigger in the process, so she can assume that he evolved again. Illusia suddenly remembers everything after hearing her words, knowing that he killed Gregory and turned into this monstrosity. Before he can do or say anything, Marielle suddenly shows up and casts a light sphere spell against him, hitting him straight on the face. She quickly asks Miria to get away from the plague dragon and casts another spell before Illusia can even know what's going on. Marielle tells her that there is no time to lose, so she has to run away now. Right when she's about to cast another spell, Miria immediately gets in the way to protect Illusia and asks Marielle to stop. Illusia wasn't expecting her to step in for him like that, and Marielle clearly wasn't expecting it either, so she asks her what she's doing. Miria tries to explain that this plague dragon is Illusia, the dragon she told her about. He's clearly bigger now, but she's still completely positive that it's him, so she doesn't want her to hurt him. Marielle still stands on guard and reminds her that Gregory was killed by that monster. That sentence makes Miria hesitate, so she pauses for a moment to look back at Illusia, asking him if that's true. Illusia doesn't look away from her, and he doesn't deny it, but Miria still chooses to believe in him. Marielle once again asks her to get away from the plague dragon, but Miria firmly stays in the way to protect him, saying that there must be some misunderstanding, because Illusia would not do that. Illusia is surprised that Miria still believes in him even now, but she starts coughing when the clouds disperse and the moonlight shines on him, making the dragon scale powder spread. Miria finds it more difficult to speak or even breathe now, which reminds Illusia that he has turned into a monstrosity who can't be near her anymore. Marielle gets alarmed when she sees her state, and Illusia quickly pushes her away without a doubt to save her, not wanting to hurt her anymore. He even loudly growls to scare her away, and Marielle casts another light sphere to protect Miria. Illusia receives the hit and then immediately flies away for good, knowing that this is farewell for them. Marielle approaches Miria to heal her body with magic, knowing that she must have been hit by the plague dragon's poison. Despite her state, Miria just sees as Illusia flies away, not wanting him to leave her. After a while, Illusia lands near a body of water to see how he looks now after he evolved. He instantly notices that he's built like a tank now, so he probably can beat a lot of monsters. He tries to feel excited about that and laughs, but his body feels completely stiff, and he wonders if he's not supposed to have automatic recovery. Illusia only then sees a single flower in the middle of the lake, and he can't help but think about Miria. He never really cared about flowers until today, but this time, he wants to know more about them. He uses his skill to see the information about the flower, and he's surprised to find out that it's called Illusia, a flower with a D+ value. The divine voice informs him that Illusia is a beautiful red and white flower, and it is said it only blooms where monsters live. For that reason, these flowers are difficult to gather, and they make excellent gifts. The divine voice also mentions that in flower language, it symbolizes courage, bravery, and heroism. Illusia immediately remembers the moment when Miria gave him his name, saying that it is the name of the flower she likes. She really believed that he was a hero, and she chose to believe in him after everything that happened. Illusia's eyes soon fill with tears at the memory, so he lets out a pained growl and asks the divine voice to erase his name, wanting to get rid of it. The divine voice reminds him that once his name is confirmed, it cannot be changed. Illusia gets frustrated and says that he can't possibly use that name because there's no bravery nor heroism in him at all now. He keeps asking it to get rid of the name already, but the divine voice simply repeats its words, saying that once his name is confirmed, it cannot be changed. Illusia just falls defeated, feeling like a fool and wondering what he wanted to become in the first place. He feels completely lost now, not even knowing what he wanted to do or why he was even brought to this world at all. Illusia manages to hear some kind of rustling nearby, and he doesn't even know what the sound is, but he just decides to close his eyes, simply not caring anymore. In the meantime, the adventurers finally reach the village and see all the major damage it received. They also find the little rock dragon's corpse and wonder if the villagers are safe. Yuno manages to sense some human presence nearby, so they all follow her until they find the villagers. Miria is healing the people who need it, but she's clearly still thinking about Illusia and what he did. Meltia quickly approaches Marielle and mentions that they found a rock dragon corpse not far away, so she wants to know what happened. Marielle informs her that a rock dragon and a plague dragon were fighting, but they don't have to worry about the plague dragon because it flew into the forest after it killed the rock dragon. Most of the villagers safely evacuated to the west side, but there are some who fell behind and they have yet to find them. Knowing this, Meltia tells her that she and her party will search for them, and Marielle thanks them for the help. Miria decides to join them, since none of them really know the village, and she wants to help in everything she can. Meanwhile, when Illusia opens his eyes, the Venom Princess is there to greet him, and he's surprised that she actually recognizes him. Lacerda hugs him with no hesitation, though Illusia mentions that he's a little too big for ordinary hugs now. He apologizes for running off and leaving her behind, and asks her if she can forgive him. The Venom Princess easily forgives him, and Illusia is just glad that they're together again. He's now an evil dragon who invaded the village and killed Gregory, so he can't be near humans ever again. Plus, he'd hate if his dragon scale powder hurt the Venom Princess or the orangutangs. Illusia makes a decision because of that, and apologizes to Lacerda, saying that he's going to leave this forest. Lacerda looks like she doesn't understand what he's saying, so Illusia clarifies that he won't go right away. After all, there's something that needs to be settled before he does. He needs to know how Daz ended up like that. Illusia had no memories or name, yet so many beings here accepted him, and he wants to do something to ensure they can live in peace. That's his responsibility as the hero Illusia. He needs time to think about his next steps, so he decides to go back to the cave with the Venom Princess. Illusia knows that he's way bigger now though, so he probably can't even fit in the cave anymore. He suddenly stops mid-air when he perceives a sharp sensation and assumes that it's the skill called Psychic Sense. It feels the same as one of those seriously bad news monsters, so he immediately tries to find where it comes from. Illusia soon spots a weird slime in the forest, which is rapidly heading towards the village. He quickly tries to check its stats, but all he manages to see is a bunch of random symbols that simply make no sense. The divine voice informs him that the view stat skill can't provide such specific information at level 5. Illusia knows that he's seen this abnormal status somewhere before, and he finally remembers the slime he saw once that had a status he couldn't view. The times when he's gotten abnormal results from the stat view were with Daz, the Mahawolf, and that weird slime, so it can't be a coincidence that he ran across it now. It is heading towards the village, and he knows that there's something off about that slime, so he needs more information. His view stats skill lets him see more about the slime, and Illusia realizes that the slime has more skills now. He's not sure if it's because his skill leveled up, but he can read its details much better than before. He's sure that magic energy transmission and magic energy reception were skills the Mahawolf had. However, the slime also has skills like scissors, needles, tortoiseshell, and spider silk, so he doesn't understand what's going on. After all, those definitely do not sound like skills a slime should have, and it even has skills that only humans should have, like Greek language and swordsman. Illusia only then remembers that Daz's skills had completely disappeared when he saw him. Moreover, it was weird how Daz and the Mahawolves were in cahoots, so maybe that slime can steal people's skills and then control them. He also remembers that something came out of Daz's mouth that time, so now he's sure that it must be part of that slime, and it is the mastermind behind this thing. That slime is what destroyed the village, and it orchestrated all of it, so he can't possibly let something as dangerous as that loose. Illusia wants to protect his friends, no matter how few he has, because he's an itty-bitty hero, after all. That's why he decides that he's going to pulverize that slime right here and now, and he asks Lacerda to take this final boss fight on together. He clarifies that she has to get out of there if things get dangerous though. Once that's clear, Illusia jumps at the slime right away, but before he he can even touch it, the slime releases a smokescreen that makes it impossible for him to see. When the smoke clears, Illusia only sees two very confused kids who don't even know where they are. That clearly throws him off, and he doesn't understand what's happening because those kids weren't here before. As he searches for the slime, one of the kids' arms suddenly transforms into a sharp blade that goes directly to Illusia's neck. Illusia manages to dodge that on time, and that's when the kids partially show their true form, saying that this won't be so easy after all. Illusia is very confused by this because there are two of them, but he can only sense one presence. The kids then morph into the slime, which finally decides to speak and asks him if his skills change that drastically after evolving. The slime takes the form of a guy and mentions that he remembers him well, and he remembers him even before he became a plague dragon. Illusia still has no idea what he is, and the slime uses a third eye to spot the Venom Princess hiding in the shadow of a tree. As soon as she's spotted, Lacerda immediately jumps and attacks him, but the slime regenerates in less than a second. Illusia is surprised that it's already fully healed, because that recovery speed is downright offensive. It's not a surprise though, because it's been stealing recovery skills from all the monsters in the forest. Illusia knows that this is one of the situations where he has to beat it in one hit or he'll be in trouble. Before he can do anything though, the slime raises his hands to stop him, assuming that he understands language, and asks him not to fight and agree to leave each other alone. Illusia immediately rejects the idea and accuses him of being the one who controlled Dawes and made him demolish the village. Despite his angry complaints, the slime can't understand what he's saying, since all he can hear are grunts. However, since he protects the village, he assumes that Illusia is interested in the humans, and maybe he's asking him about a certain human. The slime then transforms into the two kids from before, and asks him if he's searching for these two kids who went wandering in the forest not too long ago. He mentions that they both tasted delicious, but their skills were not good at all. Seeing his reaction, the slime assumes that he doesn't know the kids, so he shows him several faces of the people he's devoured. Illusia soon understands what's going on, so he wonders just how many people that slime has murdered. The slime discards the faces he's shown him, so he decides to use Dawes' face this time. Illusia's shocked reaction gives him away, so the slime tells him that he controlled Dawes and provoked the rock dragon into attacking the village. He explains that a lot of humans died while he just sat back and watched, which made it real easy to collect skills. Illusia finally confirms that he's behind everything, so he furiously tells him that he'll make him pay. The slime still doesn't understand what he's saying though, so he assumes that Illusia wants to eat some humans as well, and that's the reason he was protecting the village. Illusia asks him not to even joke about that, and clarifies that he's not the same as him. The slime apologizes for getting in the way of his dinner, and explains that he's only interested in collecting as many skills from the village as he can. He even invites him to get something to eat together, and asks him if he wants to compete against him in an eating competition. Illusia only understands that the slime wants to go and kill even more villagers, which makes him even more furious, so he tells him that he won't rest until he beats him. In the meantime, the adventurers search for any survivors with Miria's help, but she can't stop thinking about Illusia. She even says his name out loud without thinking, and Meltia asks her if that's the name of one of the missing villagers. Miria nervously denies it and explains that it's actually the name of the plague dragon who protected the village. Meltia thinks about that for a moment, but Yuno then informs them that she's found some villagers, so they quickly move on. Illusia lets out an angry growl to make the slime understand that he doesn't agree with him. The slime takes that as a no, but before he can even try anything, Illusia immediately uses Scorching Breath against him. That's an upgraded baby breath, so he's sure it should do a bit of damage at least. He doesn't waste any time and grabs the slime, flying at high speed towards an old haunt of his, where he sends monsters to their graves. Illusia reaches the place in no time thanks to his wings, and he doesn't hesitate to launch the slime's body straight to the ground with force. The divine voice informs him that the meteorite skill has gone from level 1 to level 3. Illusia is pretty sure everything's over after that, and when the Venom Princess climbs onto his shoulder, he tells her that everything's okay now. However, as soon as he turns around to go home, they hear a terrifying laugh from that slime, who's still alive even after that big drop. Illusia is even more confused when he sees a giant Tarantarouge instead of a slime. Meanwhile, the adventurers go back to Marielle and inform her that they've only found 3 villagers so far. Meltia explains that Yuno and Daz are continuing on the search for them, and Marielle thanks them for the help, saying that just seeing Miria puts her at ease. She confesses that she was worried Miria might run off into the forest again, because she still trusts that plague dragon after all. Miria doesn't deny it, and tells her that she's positive there must be some kind of misunderstanding, because Illusia would never just get violent like that. Despite that, Marielle reminds her that the truth is that he killed Gregory, and he tried to attack her. Miria stands firm on her beliefs despite that, and tells her that he might have had a good reason for all that. That's why she wants to see him one more time and learn the truth, if possible. Marielle is quick to scold her, saying that there's no way a human and a monster can understand each other, especially not one of the 3 great calamity monsters. Marielle tells her that she can't let her die on her watch, but Meltia suddenly decides to speak, saying that she thinks that she should let her do it. After all, even if she tells her not to, Miria is going to seek out the plague dragon however she can. Miria doesn't deny it, which only upsets Marielle even more, but Meltia clarifies clarifies that if that's the case, then the three of them can go together. The sudden proposal takes them by surprise, and Meltia explains that even Marielle would like to keep tabs on the plague dragon's movements for the future. Marielle admits that she's not wrong about that, and Meltia assures her that she will put her life on the line to protect the two of them, so she doesn't have to worry. She also mentions that she'll give a signal immediately if things get dangerous, so Marielle decides to accept, knowing that she's serious about this. Miria gets really happy by her decision, but Marielle warns her that she has to keep herself in line at all times. Back to Alucia, he cautiously observes the monster in front of them, and notices that it's different from the Taranta Rouge he once saw. He quickly checks its stats to confirm his suspicions and realizes that it isn't a spider, but the slime. The Venom Princess immediately attacks, but even though the slime has a different shape now, it has the same overpowered recovery skills from before. The slime soon shows himself once he notices that they've discovered him, but he's clearly annoyed now, because he hates nothing more than someone getting in the way of his fun. The slime clarifies that he doesn't care if Alucia wants to fight, but asks him not to blame him when he ends up dead. Both Alucia and the Venom Princess prepare to fight him, and the slime turns his arms into sharp blades, which he covers in flames. He uses Flame Slash and then Shockwave to attack the trees behind him, forcing Lacerda to get out of her hiding spot. Alucia realizes that he knew where the Venom Princess was hiding, and the slime mentions that combining skills together makes for explosive firepower. He then turns his arms into long tentacles with blazing blades on the ends, trying to hit Alucia from different directions. Alucia uses his bigger stats to tank a few hits while he throws himself at the slime. The slime is a human on top and spider on bottom, so he bets that the half that talks is its main body. That's why he decides to cut that half with his claws, separating the slime from the spider. The slime is taken by surprise, and Alucia tells him that he'll tear him to shreds until he's dead for sure. As he falls, the slime desperately asks him to stop, but Alucia clarifies that he has zero sympathy for him, so he must get ready to die. With no hesitation, Alucia uses his claws again to cut the slime in half, knowing that it has to be dead this time. The slime lies on the ground, defeated, or that is what he makes him think. Just when he thought it was over for good, both halves of the slime become one again, and even the body of the spider returns. The slime mentions that Alucia was probably thinking of the cliché where he'd die if the main body was cut away. Unfortunately for him, all of this body is the main one, so he should understand by now that he can't beat him. Despite this, Alucia continues fighting without a doubt, knowing that he can't give up now. The slime easily dodges his attacks and jumps in the air, saying that he can't win, so they should stop this pointless fight already. Alucia just tells him that he can say whatever he wants, but he'll make sure right here and now that he kills him. Without letting him react, Alucia throws a powerful punch that even rips the slime's head off its body. However, as it was expected, the slime simply returns to its original form and mentions that this has become tedious already. He clarifies that if he's this insistent on getting in his way, then he will have no other choice than to kill him and take all his skills. Alucia doesn't back down even after that threat and tells him that it sounds fun, so he wants him to do his worst. The slime decides to take him up on that and immediately turns his arm into a giant blade. He warns him that if he unleashes a barrage of that combined skill from earlier at this size, then not even he could survive. The giant blade is soon covered in flames, but the slime is taken off guard when the Venom Princess suddenly jumps at him. He completely forgot about her, so he quickly hits her with the side of the blade to throw her to the ground. Alucia gets worried about her, but the slime quickly brings the blade closer to her, saying that 2 against 1 is unfair, so he is going to get rid of the weaker one first. He raises his blade to finish her, but Alucia quickly hurries to protect Lacerda, saying that he won't let him hurt her. Before he can even do anything, the slime stops his blade midair, and the flames suddenly disappear. The slime freezes, sensing that there's something wrong with him, and that's when he feels a sharp pang of pain. Alucia immediately checks his stats and notices that he has a status of a major special venom, inflicted by Lacerda. She must have managed to hit the slime with it during that attack earlier, so he's now suffering the effects of her special venom. The slime doesn't understand how that's possible, because he should have poison resistance, so it seems like he underestimated her. Alucia immediately asks her to run, but the slime uses magic to slow her down and quickly catches Lacerda with one of his tentacles. He then releases another smokescreen, and once the smoke clears, Alucia is shocked to see the Venom Princess trapped in some kind of vessel. In the meantime, Meltia, Miria, and Marielle advance through the forest to look for Alucia. Marielle informs Meltia about the incident, saying that the once missing Dawes brought an egg into the village, which caused the little rock dragon to tear the place apart. Then, to make things worse, the plague dragon showed up, and there were many victims. Miria immediately protests and clarifies that in order to stop Dawes, Alucia was actually helping her. Marielle glares at her and reminds her that she's talking about the plague dragon that killed Gregory. Miria can't argue against that, so she decides to remain silent, while Meltia mentions that she she actually saw the plague dragon as well. She explains that she and Yuno encountered a plague dragon in a cave when they were searching for Dawes in the forest, though it was in a humanoid form. Marielle clarifies that plague dragons have been known to take on a human shape in order to deceive them. She then asks her why she didn't tell her about this before, and Meltia explains that it seemed unrelated to the missing person search she tasked them with. Moreover, she determined that Yuno and her alone wouldn't stand a chance against it and decided to call her crew in first. Marielle admits that one can never be too careful when dealing with one of the 3 great calamity monsters. Even so, Meltia confesses that it took them too much time, so she humbly apologizes for consequently not being there when they needed them most. Marielle dismisses her apology, saying that none of them could have seen this coming. Meltia then mentions that she did a fair amount of research, but most information about plague dragons is merely based on legend, and there is no one who knows the truth. Marielle asks her what she's implying, but Meltia doesn't answer, and simply tells them that they have to move forward for now. Back to Illusia, he has no idea what's happening to the Venom Princess, but when he checks her stats, he notices that both her HP and MP are rapidly being consumed. He immediately panics and tries to break the barrier with consecutive punches, but no matter how hard he tries, he can't even scratch it. It seems the slime can't transform or attack when he's like this, at least, so maybe he can try Nutcracker or some other skill to break through it. Illusia quickly discards these ideas, because if it goes badly, the Venom Princess will get hurt too. It's only a matter of time before the worst happens, so he desperately tries to think what to do. Illusia stops his punches altogether and suddenly realizes that if the slime can combine attacks, then he can do the same. He decides to use Whirlwind Slash and then immediately uses Dragon Punch, managing to break through the barrier. Illusia catches Lacerda in the air, and he's glad to see she's alright and that everything is over, because that slime will be dead sooner or later thanks to her poison. He praises the Venom Princess for her help, but that's when the slime suddenly emerges right behind them, saying that he's a lot more clever than he imagined. Without a second thought, Illusia asks Lacerda to run, and she doesn't hesitate for a second. Once she's far enough, Illusia faces the slime and tries to understand the situation, because that special poison should have worked on him. He checks the slime's stats to see what's going on, and notices that the poison status has disappeared, which means he can recover from poison somehow. That's when he realizes that the slime now has the neutralize poison skill, which he definitely stole from the Venom Princess. Illusia checks her stats and confirms that her neutralize poison skill is gone. The slime then transforms into a giant Mahawolf and tells him that he can't beat him now, so he should just give up and get out of here. Illusia doesn't move though, so the slime asks him if him being alive scares him that much. Illusia doesn't deny it, because Miria is still in the village, and he made a promise to Gregory. If he backs off now, the slime will probably eat the Venom Princess and the orangutangs in no time. The slime warns him that anger will just wear him out, and reminds him that they're both monsters who live in this forest, so they should be friendly with each other. Illusia doesn't understand how anything the slime does could be friendly though, because he's just a demonic slime that would do anything in order to gather more skills. There's no way he's letting him leave alive, and besides, he also has been curious about something this whole time, and it's the fact that the slime has been using words like stats and skills. It's as if he knows exactly what they are and how they work. After he got poisoned, he stole the skill Neutralize Poison from the Venom Princess, which means he was able to view her stats and chose exactly which skill he wanted to steal. All of that makes him think that it could be possible that the slime sees this world just like he does. The slime notices that he's gotten pretty quiet, so he assumes that he finally calmed down, or that perhaps he's looking at all the skills he's gathered and coming up with a way to win. Illusia's shocked reaction gives him away, so the slime asks him why he's so surprised and clarifies that he sees him the same way he sees him. He's aware of his stats and his skills, and that's not all, because he can hear that voice too. Illusia is even more shocked to find out the slime can also hear the divine voice, but he confirms it when he checks his stats. The slime tells him that he can hear it, and he's doing as it says, becoming stronger and stronger. Illusia suddenly remembers that the divine voice once told him the same words, wanting him to become stronger and to aim for the top because that's the only goal he has. He finally understands what's been going on, and the slime asks him if he realized that they're one and the same now. He assumes that Illusia finally gave up and decides to be on his way to the village. However, Illusia uses his dragon breath to create a circle of fire around them, saying that he won't let him go. The slime is clearly losing his patience and composure, but Illusia is not planning to let him go anytime soon. Meanwhile, deep in the forest, Meltia notices the smell of something burning, and Miria soon notices the forest fire in the distance. She tells them that it's Illusia and assures them he's over there, but since they heard a roar, Meltia clarifies that he's probably fighting something. Without wasting any time, Miria runs to the place, saying that they have to hurry, and Meltia follows closely behind her. Marielle tries to remind them that she told them to keep themselves in line, but she is easily left behind and has no choice but to follow them. Back to Illusia, he tells the slime that he won't let him go anywhere, and he won't back down. The slime is clearly annoyed, and he mentions that he's more malicious than he thought, but in that case, he'll just have to put him 6 feet under. He suddenly modifies his arms to match Illusia's size and lunges at him, saying that the voice who talks to them is the basis of this world, the one who makes the rules. That's why all they have to do is follow its orders and get stronger, because that's the path path they're destined to follow. Illusia backs off to gain some distance and immediately uses Whirlwind Slash against him, but the slime transforms into a sturdy Pottertoise to protect himself. Illusia tells him that he would never listen to what that stupid voice says, and he will only fight for what's precious to him and for what he believes in, so he'll make his own decisions. He tries to use Dragon Punch, but immediately retreats when the slime transforms his body into spikes. Illusia knows that the slime's stats aren't all that impressive, but he has a skill to counter every one of his attacks, which makes things even more difficult. The slime confidently tells him that he has already figured out most of his attacks, but he doesn't have a strong finisher to beat him either. That's why he decides to try something else and calls for backup so they can fight for him. A pack of Mahawolves suddenly appears, and Illusia knows that the slime is obviously using them to keep him busy until he slips up and leaves himself open. Even so, his stats are way better than theirs, and he has seen all the attacks that slime has. Illusia is confident that the slime's tricky little strategy can't work if he already knows what's coming. However, it is also true that neither of them has an attack strong enough to finish this, so he should assume the slime is plotting something that will gain him the upper hand. The slime suddenly stops the Mahawolves before they can attack, and Illusia wonders if he wants to steal their skills. He quickly discards the idea because he would already have done that at this point, so it makes no sense. Illusia soon realizes that the slime is actually using Mana Drain on one of the Mahawolves, stocking up on MP. He immediately uses Whirlwind Slash to stop him, cutting off his arm so he can't touch the Mahawolf. The other Mahawolves finally lunge at him, so Illusia fights them with ease, defeating them one by one. He thinks that everything's over when the third one falls, but that's when he realizes that there is a fourth one. That takes him by surprise, but he manages to defeat the fourth Mahawolf just as easily. Illusia checks its stats and notices that it's a real Mahawolf, which means that one of the others was the slime in disguise. Before he can react, one of the Mahawolves he defeated transforms into a body full of spikes, piercing Illusia's body without a warning. The head of the slime emerges from it, laughing like a maniac and saying that he will consume him whole. Unable to do anything about it, Illusia watches as the slime sticks to his skin like a parasite, trying to get into his body. The slime manages to achieve this and asks him if he has no more fight left. Illusia finally reacts with rage, and the first thing he does is spread his wings to immediately fly into the sky. The slime asks him what he's thinking, since he's clearly confused, but Illusia continues flying higher and tells him that he's about to show him. Lacerda sees him from the top of a tree, and Meltia also spots him from the forest. The slime laughs and assumes that he's trying to throw him off the cliff again, so he tells him that he would like to see him doing it while he's full of holes. He transforms himself into spikes from inside Illusia's body, making sure to give him a lot of damage. Illusia stops for a moment once he considers it's high enough, and the slime is ready to help himself to all of his skills. He tells him that there is no need to fret and promises that he'll make good use of every one of his skills. The slime excitedly says that as long as he has Illusia's dragon scale powder, he can slowly destroy that village without anyone knowing a monster did it. He laughs like a maniac again, but Illusia simply ignores him and looks down to see Miria one last time. He also sees the Venom Princess waiting for him and decides to close his eyes for a moment to mentally prepare himself for what's coming. Once he's ready, Illusia opens his eyes and turns his body upside down to descend at high speed. Lucky for him, the slime was dumb enough to attach himself to him, because now he doesn't have to worry about him running away. The slime still has no idea what's going on, and he wonders why Illusia is smiling like that right now. Illusia secures a strong grip on the slime with his claws as he falls, and Meltia wonders why the plague dragon stopped moving. Marielle soon clarifies that he's actually falling, and Miria instantly gets worried about him. The Venom Princess also can't hide her concern, but there is nothing they can do but watch. Meanwhile, the slime is still completely clueless and thinks that Illusia is falling out of the sky because he has no more energy left. Despite all his talking, he starts suspecting something's going on when he notices how quiet Illusia is, so he asks him what he's planning. As they continue falling, their speed increases more and more until their bodies burst into flames like a meteorite. Illusia finally speaks, saying that a huge drop right into a full-power nutcracker is something not even he can walk away alive from. The slime finally realizes that he's planning to slam him straight into the ground, so he panics and tries to stop him, saying that he won't survive that either. They start gaining even more speed, so he desperately tries to ask him to stop, but Illusia holds tighter onto him and clarifies that he doesn't care what happens to himself. With no hesitation, Illusia even uses his wings to help them gain more speed as they head straight towards their end. Knowing that they can't possibly survive something like this, the slime desperately begs for his life, saying that he gives up. He assures him that he won't go to the village and he'll leave the forest for good, so he wants him to stop right now. Illusia simply increases their speed and asks him to pray to that stupid voice if he wants to live so badly. The slime completely completely loses it and desperately tries to stop Illusia by stabbing him with spikes from inside. His hysterical fit doesn't stop him though, so Illusia holds tighter onto him and continues falling. They get closer and closer to the cliff, but the slime refuses to give up, saying that he will use every dirty trick in the book if he has to, anything to be the strongest, because he promised the divine voice that he would. Despite all his efforts and desperation, Illusia crashes against the ground at high speed with a powerful nutcracker that shakes the earth and creates a huge explosion that consumes them both. It doesn't take long for Miria to go running towards the cliff, desperately looking for Illusia and hoping that he's alright. Meltia and Marielle follow her, of course, though they are still wondering just what in the world happened. Meltia manages to find the plague dragon in no time, but both Miria and the Venom Princess panic when Illusia's body is washed away by the strong current of the river. Miria completely panics and desperately calls for Illusia's name repeatedly, crying uncontrollably. Marielle warns her that she can't get any closer, but since Miria doesn't respond, she slaps her face and forces her to snap out of it, saying that she has to calm down. Miria immediately freezes and simply starts crying, knowing that there is nothing she can do. After a while, they finally return to the village, where Yuno is helping the villagers clean up the place. Marielle asks Miria to lay down and rest for now, because she's clearly exhausted. Miria hesitates at first, but she doesn't have much of a choice, and one of the villagers guides her to a place she can rest. Yuno asks Meltia what happened in the forest, and she mentions that they saw the plague dragon they encountered before deep in the forest, fighting desperately against something. She's still thinking about it though, since they can't understand what happened entirely. Marielle admits that it certainly looked like the plague dragon was fighting something, but there are so many things they just don't know yet. Meltia agrees with her, and Marielle decides to ask her for a favor, saying that she suspects that Miria will ask to leave the village. She explains that even though Miria seems quite meek, her interest in the outside world makes her adventurous, and she's always had a desire to live somewhere beyond the village. Her outing with Daz and everything that happened afterwards just amplified it, so she's sure that she will try to leave soon, and she hopes that they can consider helping her out. Meltia simply tells Marielle that she'll think it over for now, while Miria is actually still thinking about Illusia, but her sad expression from before has completely transformed into one of determination. In the meantime, the Venom Princess returns to the cave after what happened, also full of determination. Even though she really hated the orangutangs at first, she decides to speak to them this time, knowing exactly what she has to do. She informs them that they're watching over this place until Illusia gets back, and until then, they will work under her command. Surprisingly, the orangutangs obediently comply with all of her commands, promising to keep the cave in order. Meanwhile, Illusia suddenly wakes up in a dark place, which makes him get a serious deja vu. When he sees a crack in that dark space, he panics and wonders if he's an egg again. Illusia hopes that that's not the case, and when he finally breaks free, he realizes that he was actually just buried in the sand. Even though he's relieved, he still wonders how he's alive after all that happened, and hopes that he beat the slime for good. Illusia tries to call for Miria or the Venom Princess, but no matter how much he tries, he gets no answer at all. And to make things even more confusing, he suddenly sees the sea and realizes that he's nowhere near the forest. Illusia just stands there, not knowing what to do and having no idea what's going on.